สวัสดีครับขอยินดีต้อนรับกลับมาสู่งาน AIS Techsauce Esports Summit 2020 นะครับผมงานเสวนาด้านอุตสาหกรรมธุรกิจเกมและ e-sport แบบครบวงจรครั้งแรกของประเทศไทยฮะและแน่นอนว่าในช่วง afternoon session เนี่ยหรือว่าเป็นช่วงบ่ายเนี่ยฮะจะมีการเสวนาจากผู้มาให้ความรู้กันระดับภูมิภาคและระดับโลกกันด้วยเพราะฉะนั้นความรู้ระดับนานาชาติตรงนี้อาจจะต้องพูดกันเป็นภาษาอังกฤษสักนิดนึงเพราะฉะนั้นขอเปลี่ยนโหมดเป็นภาษาอังกฤษสักหน่อยนะฮะ so now hello and welcome everyone to AIS Techsauce Esports Summit the first esports conference in Thailand hope you guys are having a good time today and I would like to introduce everyone to our first topic in the afternoon session the rise of esports business global growth to local opportunity that's the first topic for today and we would like to introduce our speaker first and foremost please welcome our speaker Mr. Andy Fay esports specialist director of PwC UK and we also have here our moderator คุณจิตตินัทอัสดมงคล Country President in Thailand Division from One Championship please take it away
Hello everyone, my name is Jitnan Asdamongkon. I am the president of One Championship Thailand and I'll be your moderator today. Welcome everyone to the AIS Techsauce Esports Summit. Today we have a guest speaker, Mr. Andy Fay, esports specialist and director of PwC from United Kingdom. And today's topic, we're going to talk about the rise of esports business from global growth to local opportunity. As you know, the trend of esports has been on a rapid rise, growing up rapidly, especially in the last decade. And it's said to be the fastest growing sport on the entire planet, as well as the sport for the millennial and new generation that is picking up very fast. And there's a lot of opportunity, in the ecosystem. A lot of investors' money is pouring in the sector tremendously. And in this session, we would like to spend time to, educate about what the trend on the esport is like, how the ecosystem is working, and the actual current esports, how big the market size is, and what kind of statistics related to investment could tell us, and how the audience growth, viewership, and also the other exciting factors for people who are interested in esport, how they can get involved, from the business investor perspective. And we'll be discussing, give you, a macro picture of what the industry is like, and for me, it's a great opportunity, as someone who's also grew up, with gaming, and now they see esport to be, in the forefront of the sport ecosystem in the world, not just as a small sport, a niche sport, but becoming a mainstream. And it gives me great opportunity, and I'm very happy to be able to host you today, Mr. Andy Fay. Could you introduce us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much, Clive, for the introduction, and thank you everybody for listening today and for the invitation to speak at the event. So as Ply mentioned, I'm Andy Fay, director at PwC, and for the last 3 years have led our esports practice with the firm, and essentially sort of chaired our global network who are looking at esports in the various hot locations around the world, including Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe, and North America in particular. And you're absolutely right. It's a fascinating industry. It's growing at an absolute rapid pace, and it's an incredible, exciting market to be a part of. So I'm delighted to be able to share some insights today.
As a first question to this session, would you mind sharing with us how the current picture of the esport market on a global scale is like? Since there are essentially like a lot of number of components in the esport ecosystem that people may not be aware of, especially if you are newcomers into the industry. We're also wondering about how the relevant stakeholders within the ecosystem, the esport market function, how they impact one another, and what are the outcomes that you could expect from this fascinating industry.
Yeah, so it's a really good place to start. I think the first key thing to appreciate is that esports is a part of the gaming industry. So it's for me, it's the entertainment visual lens into gaming. So gaming, of course, has been around for many, many years, you know, from the 1980s on the Pac-Man machines that people may remember, all the way through to, you know, virtual reality and AI that goes on at the moment in the current market. And esports is not dissimilar. Esports has been around a long, long time, the concept of competitive gaming. So, you know, back in the 80s, there were big events where people would play Pac-Man and who would be the champion and win the big Pac-Man tournaments, often for money. So it's always been there. What's really changed though is probably the last sort of 4 or 5 years with the sort of the improvements in technology, some of the gaming being far better and more superior. This sort of trend in consumer behavior, particularly around young demographics, of a connected community that game together. So everybody's joined up now when they're gaming and this is sort of, you know, in line with social media, etc. This sort of perfect storm has created this rapid growth over the last few years in both gaming and in esports. They both have grown in parallel. And if you think of the sort of in numerical terms, you know, esports today is worth globally around about $1.3 billion as of 2020. And we've recently launched an Entertainment and Media Outlook report, which forecasts through to 2024. And our report says that it's going to be worth 2.2 billion by 2024, which means it's growing at a rate of about 14% per year. And if you know, that is absolutely the same growth rate. And if I just take the Asian market, for example, you know, if today it's around $650 million, so it's roughly half of the global revenues come from Asia. And the projection for that is to be 1.1 billion in 2024, again, at a 14% growth. Now, these numbers, you know, $2 billion is, you know, in the entertainment world may not appear particularly big. But the fascinating aspect of this, as I mentioned before, it is part of the broader gaming market. And the broader gaming market, where it says 1 in 3 of us are gamers, from mobile gaming through to PC, through to console, that's worth today about $140 billion and is expected to be $177 billion by 2024. So if you're taking advantage of esports, you're also taking advantage of gaming. It's a huge market with huge attractive demographics that play it. And you're absolutely right, Ply. It is made up of a what can be quite a complex ecosystem of many different players. And the main drivers of esports is the publishers who own the IP, you know, they own the game content, etc., and the community, so the fans, the people that watch this and live and breathe and watch their favorite players play competitive gaming. They're the ones that really shape the market. And then below that, you have a series of other players. You've got the teams, you've got the service providers, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. You've got the leagues and the competitive structure, which is often franchised at the moment. And then you have sort of other you know, the other people coming in, like the brands and the sponsors and the ad agencies and the likes of PwC, of course, who have entered the market as well. So everybody, my sort of message to everybody, and especially investors are a key part of this market as well, is that there's somewhere to play for everybody in the esports market. The one word of advice I would have is it can be complicated and it is always changing. So it's definitely worth spending some time to really get into the fabric of that ecosystem.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. And you know, from an investor's perspective, who are looking to get into the industry, you know, from your viewpoint, what do investors see in the gaming market? Is the trend, you know, similar for global and local scale from your experience and perspective?
I'd say yes, it is actually. I'd say the what changes is, where investors are focusing. And that is determined by the type of investor you are, and also what's happening in the market at that given time. So if you look back over the last number of years, you know, investments have gone into all manner of different parts of the ecosystem, from new gaming publishers. There's a lot of M&A deals that have happened with them over the last few years. Teams and leagues have taken a lot of investment, all the way through to platforms. You know, Twitch back in the day being bought by Amazon was the sort of first major one. And then that's sort of gone on at sort of maybe not quite at that level, but other platforms are slowly getting investment. And I'd say what, as I said, changes is where the investors are focusing at that particular point in time. I would say at the moment, the trend is generally, if you are high net worth individuals or family office, you want to be at the coalface of this. You know, they're looking at, I want to be a part of the team. I want to be running an esports organization that's competing at the top, you know, in these big stadiums and full of people when you can be in stadiums full of people, of course. And equally, you know, and get the riches of this big audience that is watching it. Then you sort of turn your sort of gaze away towards the venture capital and private equity that today are probably more focused on the technology side, platforms, service providers that are providing across the whole ecosystem, across publishers, across all the communities. So it does vary. Now, it doesn't say that won't change in 6 months and they may flip on its head and your sort of celebrities, high net worth individuals will look elsewhere. But some people watching may have seen that David Beckham just did a big entry into esports, you know, buying an esports team in London. Michael Jordan has done similar in the United States with Team Liquid. So, you know, at the moment, it's I would say teams and leagues is a long-term investment. It's a cool thing to be a part of. You know, it's where it's really attractive to people. And then more of a financial investment, I guess, would be on your technology platform side. So I'd say it does, the appetite varies, but I would say globally, it's pretty standard, I would suggest, of where the investors are looking.
Yeah, just like what you mentioned very interestingly, it seems like esport, you know, it has a like very low barrier to entry in terms of people who want to participate in. You know, you're getting like a lot of celebrities, YouTubers, big industries, big brands are like getting into, you know, the ecosystem. You know, you could even say that it's like the Wild West at the moment, you know, for esports. And we are just only glancing on the surface, you know, the beginning of its growth trajectory, you know, and because of the lack of the, what you would say, like the lack of structure and governance at the moment, you know, like governments, you know, organizations are still kind of like trying to catch up and trying to understand the industry. You know, and a lot of people are not, you know, in a position in as advanced expertise as you are. So in your opinion, if you are, say you are a regulator, what do you think, you know, the regulation will look like in the coming future for esports?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a very emotive question, actually, across the esports world is regulation. And ultimately, you know, why people want to enter this space is to take advantage or to leverage, is a better turn of phrase, the community and the viewers of this stuff. And when you consider that, you know, there's something in the region of 500 million people regularly watch esports content every day across the world, when there's actually on top of that, you know, something like, I don't know, 2 or 2.7 million or 2.7 billion gamers that are out there at the moment. Yeah, 2.7 billion gamers. And therefore, esports at the moment has only about 8 to 10% of that market. So actually, where the opportunity for growth is huge from an already big, attractive demographic. So what that then in turn happens, and a lot of that demographic is very young, of course, you know, young people are into this thing. So there has to be a level of protection for these people. And that's where I think the regulation has to focus. So particularly when you have betting becoming much more prevalent in esports now than it ever has been, there needs to be a form of regulation that protects younger people in the betting industry. or in the esports betting sort of as it crosses over. So I suspect you'll see more regulation around that particular point going forward, and that may be instilled by sort of governmental organizations. But as far as regulation at the moment, the regulation is really set by two things. It's set by publishers on the sort of games, on the games that they produce. So they will say, here are the rules for this particular franchise league. Here are the rules if you want to be a professional esports organization and play our game. And there is a lot of player welfare considered in that. There's minimum salaries, you know, there is long-term contracts. So there is an element there. And then the other key point I would say that sort of shapes regulation in a, let's say, an informal way is the community. The community is the loudest voice in esports. Without the community, gaming publishers would not be as successful as they currently are. These guys play the games on a daily basis, and a proportion of them watch the games then as well. So if they want a particular thing to happen, the publisher listens, and the publisher will make that thing happen if the community are demanding it. So I think as far as regulation is concerned, it is there already. It's in not forms that we would recognize compared to other maybe traditional sports. And there's definitely some regulation to come in the future. But I think at the moment there's a fine balance because it is a very emotive topic.
Yeah, I understand, because like with the players are not only just the audience, but they also the consumers of the product and the games, you know. So unlike say if you're like a football fan, you know, you may watch football, but you may not necessarily spend the money to play or acquire, you know, football gear, for example. But with esports, you know, it's like you say, the community and the fans, you know, have a lot of leverage and power over the industry. You know,
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. You know,
to see.
Absolutely right. Most of the fans in esports are gamers themselves, and you're absolutely right. You know, in football, people are fans, but they may not play football. But in gaming and esports, they generally do both.
Yeah, and just like to bring us back to the perspective of the current day. You know, nowadays we are struck with COVID-19 situation. Most live sports, you know, had to be shut down. You know, like with one championship, we do like martial arts event. You know, we had to put our martial arts event live broadcast on hold for several months. But with, you know, a sport like esport, you know, which you could potentially see, you know, events happening virtually, you know, how do you see, you know, with the current situation of COVID-19, how does it affect the esport industry?
It's been a fascinating few months for esports and gaming as a whole. COVID has had a clear negative effect on the industry. But equally, it's had, it's been, I hate to use the word positive in reference to COVID, but there has been a positive coming out of it for esports as well. The positive is around the PR and the awareness of esports. So far more people, you know, I think the stats could be something like, you know, 2 billion extra hours of esports content were viewed on Twitch year on year. And that's obviously driven by COVID. You know, gaming revenues are up because people have gamed because of various lockdowns, etc. But for esports, though, the awareness has increased. Now, the awareness has increased, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the financial aspect has also increased. In fact, the financial aspect has gone down. Like any live events, they've struggled. The fact that they've been able to move online is great. But what's happened there is that prize pools have diminished. And of course, the value of sponsorships on an online event versus a live stadium event is slightly reduced as well. And the cancellations of those, of course, has lost things. So actually, what we've seen is a positive from a visual and a market understanding perspective. But then, of course, there's been a big financial burden on the ecosystem itself.
Yep. And just to kick back into 2018, we have heard an interview. You said something about, you know, passion, and that you said that passion is the first, while business is the second for gaming business. You know, that's a very great quote, and I would would like to hear your thought and your sharing on the reasons and motivation behind that quote that you said.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the passion in esports is unrivaled. People that are in it because they love esports. I think I said that probably around 2018, I think a couple of years ago. And what I would say in the 2 years since is that the business acumen, the business side of it has caught up at pace. Passion is still number one. You need to enter this business being particularly passionate. But the business side has really increased, and that's because of a few things. More investment has come in, so investors have a certain expectation of professionalism, of return on profitability, and of course, teams and organizations within esports have brought external experience. So people that have come from other industries, they've got technical knowledge on, whether it be technology or how to run a business, those kind of things. So I would say passion is still the key criteria, but the business side of it is really a close second now. It has improved and matured a great deal over the last couple of years.
Yes. So you would say like if a brand or sponsor wants to get into this industry, they would have to be approach it from a very authentic angle, because you have such a passionate, hardcore fans who are very protective of the esport ecosystem. Even before the days when money was pouring in. So would you say that would be the case? Kind of like a key takeaway for.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen many come and fail an activation in esports because they haven't done it authentically. And equally, they haven't understood really why they're doing that. If you understand why you're trying to get into esports or activate in esports, rather than it's just the latest cool thing to do, there has to be a real business reason for doing that. And there generally is one. And then that will naturally navigate you towards the correct activation in an authentic way. That once you get that community on board, they'll be your real loyal customers for life.
Yes. So I'm really sad we are so out of time with so many, interesting topics.
No, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, we only got like 20 minutes, but we went over time. But just like before we wrapped up this session, if you could share what would be like the key success factor, key takeaway, for anyone, whether brand or business or people in the ecosystem, about how they can excel and do great in the industry.
Mm-hmm. I'd say the one key takeaway, if you or an organization have heard about esports and are looking to enter esports, my personal view is there is absolutely somewhere to play for everybody. Whether that be within the ecosystem itself, whether it be with a platform, or being innovation yourself and creating something to enter and benefit this ecosystem. It's only going one way. It's getting more and more popular all the time. Yes, 2020 has been rocky because of the pandemic, etc. But 2021, once this nightmare is over, we'll be back on track, and the live events will come, and they'll be bigger and better than ever, with bigger prize pools, bigger sponsors, bigger partnerships, and bigger brands that have entered the space. So it's an exciting journey to be a part of, and the excitement is still growing all the time.
And so it's great to hear esport has a great future, despite the pandemic, but we will probably see an acceleration of even more disruption, caused by the COVID-19 to propel the industry, even faster than we can anticipate. And then certainly, like we mentioned, we're only on the tip of the iceberg of the true potential of what esport industry, not just could do for business, but for the good of humanity and the world in general. So we will, hopefully, everyone who listen on this session, give esports, a chance. If you're not, already involved in it, if you're interested in it, a lot of great opportunity, to find, those new esport heroes who can potentially become like the next Michael Jordan or the next Muhammad Ali of the industry. And when that day comes, I believe esport will propel itself into the mainstream in no different way than how we have soccer nowadays, or the NBA basketball or martial arts, in one championship. and it's very great, to have you in this session. So sad we have so little time. So, I'm pretty sure that so many listeners will probably have so many more questions we'd like to ask you, but for today, thank you very much, Andy.
They can reach out whenever they like. I'm more than happy to talk about esports all day.
Yes, I can see that. So everyone, thank you for your time today, and also thank you for the fans and listener as well. So we'll see each other again, hopefully, and let's see, meet again sometime soon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
There's no denying that esports has become the industry that has been in the spotlight for quite some time. And now with the pandemic, it's gotten more audiences, more recognition. So the topic of our panel discussion right now will be about esports market evolution, tips and technique on how brand engagement with fans can be with esports fans. Now, if you've been following esports, you know that there have been big giants, a lot of sponsors and brands going into this industry. Two of the big giants has been Mastercard and Mercedes-Benz. And it's no surprise because the revenue, the global esports revenue is expected to surpass rather $1 billion this year. Today, we're going to talk with Eileen Chu, the country manager of Thailand Mastercard, and Roland Folger, the president and CEO of Mercedes Thailand. สวัสดีค่ะ Hello to both of you. As I mentioned, both of your companies or your brands have been very much a big part of esports. Tell us about how your presence has been in the industry. Let's start with Roland.
Well, we started about a year ago to do that really on a worldwide level as well as a company and as a brand, because it was our main target to move away from the more traditional form of reaching out to customers and to connect with customers. And we came up with, at that time, an even more fledgling and growing field of sport activities, and that was esports. With our feelers in the industry that we had, we also saw a huge potential for differentiation because, frankly speaking, hardly anybody or practically nobody in the automotive luxury end of the industry is really participating in esports. And for us, the additional bonus was that we could connect with a completely new set of potential customers out there in a way that was not expected from such a more traditional and maybe perceived as being a sedate brand as Mercedes-Benz.
Yes, and it's a bit of a surprise because actually both your brand Mastercard and Mercedes-Benz has, in a way, it's a very luxurious brand. You would think that it would be of an older audience. What made you, Roland, or what made your company think to get into esports? How did that come into play?
Well, first of all, we have been traditionally very, very strongly linked with sports in each and any kind, from CSR activities as Laureus, which is basically linking sports with changing young people's lives, all the way to basically supporting the German soccer team in the past, the national soccer team, other topics as well, as far as golf is concerned, or as far as tennis was concerned. Yeah, but there is an end to the more traditional ways from our perspective, and sometimes as a brand, if you want to reposition yourselves earnestly and seriously, and also connect with what I mentioned before, with new customers in a different way and mindset, then this was a fantastic way to reach out for us. And what we have learned in the meantime by doing it and going out there, that this is not only something that works on a very corporate level, but it's basically also applicable for us right here in the countries. And that's why we have been also doing it here in Thailand.
Okay, how about Mastercard?
So I think, Roland's covered a lot of the points. I think from Mastercard's perspective, we've approached, I think, how we want to talk to our consumers and our customers with sort of a lens on three key things. We decided a while ago that we were going to be an experiential brand, which means we didn't want to engage customers through ads, but we wanted to engage them through experiences. I think it was very important for us to be where our customers are, but also be where the conversations were happening. So that, I think, created that big shift in terms of Mastercard's brand transformation into something that was experiential and experiences. And that's anchored on something that we call our 9 passion points, which includes things like food, arts, philanthropy, and definitely sports. So globally, we are the sponsors of some of the largest sporting properties, golf, for example, the Open, UEFA Champions League, right? And certainly, I think as part of that, esports provided that opportunity. So I think that was one of the key things that we looked at. I think the second thing was, was esports the right sport for us in terms of targeting that evolving, growing, changing consumer mix that we were seeing of people who use Mastercard or that we want them to be engaged more with the Mastercard brand. We saw esports as a really good way to basically overlay what we were seeing in terms of social interactions and digital interactions. So when we talked about very immersive, engaging experiences, there was none quite like esports that we've ever seen before. And that was really the sweet spot for us. So that's another reason why we were so excited about this property. And last but not, go ahead.
No, keep going. Last but not.
Oh, last but not least, I mean, look, it was just exactly what Roland said. It was a really good way to target a younger, new segment audience. There was a PwC research that said that 2/3 of everyone under 35 was actually involved in some sort of watching or playing of games. And interestingly, in Southeast Asia, 60% of the population is under 35. So really, whether it was gaming, whether it was esports, it was really a good, immersive, and very sticky way to attract a new customer segment and to basically interact with them.
Roland, when you say that you were ready and you were already immersed in a lot of sports, but when you take a look at esports, what kind of approach did your brand take in going into that industry, in that market? What were the first initial sponsorships like?
Well, it's like it was described before. It's not just the sponsorship element that is so attractive for us, but basically by providing input into specific events, for instance, just by being there, by providing, for instance, car details, designs, that can be then merged with, for instance, some of the car sports, for instance, by basically providing them with our vehicle designs or some of more futuristic designs. You start to connect with that clientele that eats it up like we won't normally see in any other events. And let's not forget one thing, on esports, you have a much more interactive society out there that wants to also give input. So it's not just a typical one-way street that people are looking at and that we normally are faced with, but you get a lot of feedback back from those people, and that is what is so engaging. So when we look for esports specifically and working together with some of the large brands there, what we have found out is that interactivity helps us to become much more customer focused in that sense, and also through the interactivity, learn much quicker than we would normally do in the more traditional sports.
How about with Eileen? Was it the same with you?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with Roland. And we spoke a little bit earlier about sort of we were looking for a property that gave us that perfect sort of sweet spot between how people interacted with social media, digital media, because we really wanted it to be very immersive for them and we wanted to be really engaged. In 2018, we became the global sponsor in a multi-year relationship with Riot Games and was sponsors, basically global sponsors of the League of Legends, where we sponsor 3 key events, including the World Championships. And through that, exactly like what Roland had said, we were able to co-create experiences that really helped us to reach out to these customer segments. So for example, in 2018, the World Championships for the League of Legends was actually in South Korea, in Seoul. And we had actually done sort of an interactive pop-up in the Gangnam district, where we were able to create priceless experiences for fans to be able to meet the pro players, to compete themselves, and basically, just have a really, really good time, very immersed, and be able to talk to us as a brand as well, but walk away with this complete sense of that was a priceless money can't buy experience. And that's one of the really great things about an asset like esports. It helps you to reach the right audience. There is that two-way relationship because it's digital, it's social, but at the same time, you can co-create these experiences which really help your brand to build its relationship with the customer.
Yeah, definitely. And both of you mentioned that you're talking about those that are like below 35 years old. Apparently, I myself am not in that category. And there's a lot of other people who aren't as well.
Probably everyone who's watching us is probably in that category.
But when you talk about esports, the number one thing that a lot of people might think of is like, teenagers, young kids at home or at cafes playing games and hanging out with their friends. Is this the target or the audience that we're talking about, or are we thinking of potentially different types of demographics within this industry that is still evolving? Who'd like to talk about this first, Roland?
You go ahead now.
Okay,
go ahead, Eileen. Yeah.
Eileen, okay.
No problems. Look, at the end of the day, like you rightfully said earlier in the segment, we're established brands, so we're known in certain key segments, and we really want to grow the engagement and the relationship we have with new target audiences as well. So the youth, the millennials are obviously or the zillennials, as we call them today, are very much a large part of how we want to focus our engagement strategy as well. But that said, there is broad appeal for esports and gaming in general. And actually one of the fastest growing segments within that are women, which is, I find quite interesting as well. So, it's got broad appeal, and actually it's not even just about the gaming itself. Almost 80% of the people who are surveyed who enjoy esports actually liked it very much for the competitive nature and actually likened it to real sports itself. I think one of the very interesting facts, which I picked up just very recently, is that the pandemic that we've just all gone through has been has been a growth accelerant for esports, largely because real sports themselves had stopped. So there was no one out there playing tennis or golf. And so people were drawn to this other world where they could get into the competitive team nature of what was happening with esports. And I think that just speaks to the broad appeal. So yes, it does target young people, which is great. But at the same time, I think there is mass appeal, and it's really going to continue to grow.
I just want to ask you a little bit more about that female attraction to the sport. Can you give us a little bit of insight more on why women are turning into esports more?
They tend to be laggards, is what we've been told. They follow the males a little bit. So as the males start to watch, they themselves start to get into it as well. But I think, we live in a world where women can do anything that a man can do as well. And women love also the competitive nature of being good at something. So no surprise, at least to me, that, women are a fast growing segment within esports.
Okay, Roland, would you like to add anything to that?
Similar and slightly different experiences, especially when we look into our target groups. Because from our perspective, we have made great forays and step forwards in going into younger clienteles, also with our dramatically changed design language in our vehicles, but especially by adding at the lower end of our price bracket vehicle concepts that are very, very appealing to especially that kind of a crowd and clientele. So especially also here out in Southeast Asia, when we reached out through esports, we see a lot of overlap with the existing younger clientele. And if we also look into, what we achieve with AMG and the change that has brought to the perception of the brand, it's going into younger, much more sporty oriented people and clientele. So that was one part of the interest, and that's what kicked us off a few years ago when we decided to go into this direction. Now what we are realizing, and it's exactly the same way what Eileen mentioned, is that in the meantime the world is changing. We see the COVID-19, first of all, unfortunately not as over yet, because this will accompany us for a while, but we see also long-term changes in our culture and in the way in our society is entertaining itself. And at the moment, with a stronger focus on security topics, personal safety, cocooning at home, these are all factors that drive massively also esports. So this, what we call a fast forward button. lends itself massively also into the propagation of esports. So these things come nicely together. So also our digitalization as a company, where we make it easier for customers to get online, do business in the future with us online, and where we basically also introduce completely new interactive connections into our vehicle, our world famous MBUX system, which is there to link seamlessly and very intuitively with customer demands in the vehicle and voice commands. All of these things resonate beautifully if you look into our activities on esports.
Do you think that perhaps the demographic will change in the future, that we're going to see perhaps this becoming more mainstream, or do you think that the demographics will be sort of the similar aspects that we're seeing right now?
No, that's what we bet on, actually. That's what we strongly believe on, because we believe that, first of all, there is the growing sentiment. You know, parents in the meantime learn a lot more from their children than maybe we experienced when I was young. Yeah. My interaction with my children on electronic topics, but also e-games, is much stronger than the interaction of my parents was with me about my sports or what I ever did. Now, with that in mind, older generations are learning much more from younger generations. So I see that swapping over. I think that's the next big growth that we will also see for esports, maybe with a different aspect to it. Then you have naturally the core segment of these young people that are growing and becoming older themselves. And I think that, and what Eileen mentioned as well, with different connections of more ladies coming into the games and more women coming into the games, I think that's a huge growth potential that we're at the moment looking at.
Eileen, you agree?
Oh, I completely agree. Look, I mean, ultimately, the industry itself is also incentivized to make it much more mainstream. So there is a lot of work that's being done, I think, in the way it's being packaged, it's being marketed, that's actually supposed to grow sort of the mass appeal. And obviously, you know, as more and more people get into it, it creates a bit of a tipping point as well. And it is a highly, intensely engaging event, right? So whether you are actually actively playing yourself, or you're just a spectator, it is actually something that everyone can participate in. So I do see it becoming much more mainstream as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was checking out, I think one of the platforms that I got it right, at Twitch, right? And where like there are streamers, and you have different types of streamers, different characteristics, females, males, and everything. Of course, you could find someone that you can relate to, I guess. Now, Eileen, you were talking about regions as well at the beginning. You said that Southeast Asia is definitely one of the biggest markets that has potential growth because the majority of people are under 35. What is the most attractive regions? Because I know that esports is developing throughout the world. It's a global thing, but different areas, different regions are developing at different rates. Like, for example, South Korea, you know, it's at another level, whereas in other countries, it might not be as developed. What is the hotspot right now that brands are looking into? You know, what regions are brands going into in terms of marketing and engaging with their consumers?
Well, I think specifically for esports, and I'm happy for Roland to sort of chip in, specifically on gaming, Southeast Asia is the fastest growing region in the world for gaming. I think there are something like 400 million PC mobile gamers. And actually, you know, Thailand is a big gaming market, but in terms of esports, Thailand is still fairly nascent. I think a large majority, more than half of the people who are involved in esports in Thailand only started about 12 months ago. So still very, very young. And there are about 4 million of such esport gamers already in Thailand. So huge trajectory of growth definitely in Thailand, following the trend of what we see in Southeast Asia. I think definitely with the popularity of everything that is Korea and K-pop, whatever has started in Korea, and certainly we can see already in the CLMV regions the huge growth of e-gaming. For example, in Vietnam, that's all going to spill over. So for me, definitely, I think Southeast Asia is still going to be the hotspot.
Roland?
Same for us. For a simple reason that it's got, in average, the youngest populations. It's got a very, very high density of available online gamers with appropriate devices available. It's got let's not forget that the network that support this as well. So the network density, the quality of streaming that you can do plays a very, very important role, and is one of the either biggest hindrances or is one of the biggest promoters of that as well. Interestingly enough, I think maybe in another 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, we will not see these country-specific differentiations anymore, because esports itself lends itself fantastically to be really a pan-regional approach as well, and make that much more exciting, with the only differentiating criteria maybe being languages in the future. But then again, you don't need languages to such a degree to associate yourself with other cultures, and especially if you're on esports, that's the beauty of the concept. We therefore see no limits as far as that is concerned.
That's definitely the truth. I mean, you can see that with K-pop, you know, performing in big stages in the West. Then, of course, I was speaking to a famous streamer earlier this week, and he said that he was playing with the U.S. team, and he was Thai, and he couldn't even speak any English, but then they found a way to play together. Now, both of your brands have been in this industry for quite some time. So, of course, we want to know how it has been in terms of the feedback. A lot of people are looking to you to see, you know, because you were the people who were early into the game. What has the response been for your organization's presence in the industry? How has the response been? Yes, Eileen? Okay.
So the feedback has been good. I think a lot of our partners that we work with are very encouraged by the fact that in addition to some of the big name properties that we typically sponsor, we now bring a fresh property that allows them to also engage with a younger customer audience and in a completely different and digital way. So I talked a little bit about the priceless experiences that we built when we had hosted the 2018 League of Legends World Championships in Seoul. And the feedback from that was phenomenal. The pop-up was very, very well attended. And we actually had packaged these experiences to be sold as mini packages. So as a card holder, you could go online, you could purchase it. And all of the packages were sold out. We wanted as a brand to be an experiential brand, like I said before, which meant that we wanted to be where the conversations were. And really for this segment during the World Championships, that's exactly where the conversations are. So in terms of the brand tracking and the KPIs, it's absolutely met our expectations. We're absolutely looking forward as well as to what 2021 is going to bring for us with the pandemic, because that's really changed the flavor and the profile of a lot of the sponsorships that we do. But certainly, I think with the League of Legends going online as well, into an online arena for gaming rather than a physical arena where esports are normally played, that's really going to go from strength to strength.
Roland, have you been seeing more people buying cars?
We wish. We're one of the industries, I think, that has been hit very hard by disruptions, also of the chain of products flowing in and our supplier chains and everything else. So that's something that we're seriously struggling with the exception of China. But coming back to the esports experience, I would say, when we started our cooperation with Riot Games, in the beginning they were like, you could feel that. At least that's what my friend from Germany and the headquarter functions told me. You know, they were like, seriously, what are you guys doing here? You don't say this. You know, how does this fit in? And I think what is the big benefit naturally for us is once you start working together and they learn from us things, is becoming a fascinating cooperation, really. And I think for us, we look at this hugely as a learning curve as well, understanding customers better, getting direct input from customers into our systems and the way we do our marketing now. So we're not only learning from esports to esports, but we're learning from that as well, and we can take it into our marketing approaches, generally speaking. I think we're taking much more seriously now, because we have not just, you know, send up that one balloon and see what happens, but we're here to stay, and I think that is the important part and message as well. We believe strongly that this will also be the future, and even small setbacks where we might have to reshuffle a little bit our cost structures and our support that we do is not going to draw us away from a clear commitment that esports from our perspective is really the future.
Now, this is a new territory, definitely. So from your opinions, what is the playbook for monetizing esports? To be frank, like, when, you know, a lot of brands, when they go in, of course, they want to see how can they benefit and monetize from it. But of course, it's changing all the time. Eileen, do you have any perspective on this?
So we are obviously a company that is very keen on building our brand awareness and also brand loyalty through experiences, right? And I think that was sort of the transformation that we went on. I think we went through a huge brand transformation. We're one of the very few brands in the world today, a little bit like Mercedes-Benz, that is recognizable without words, only an icon. And I think in view of sort of the younger, more digitally connected audience and their experiences, we've also gone even ahead to launch a sonic brand where a tune plays and it's distinctly recognizable as Mastercard, because we understand you may not always interact with us in a way where you can see a logo or see a name, but really you might hear a sound, for example. So there's this tremendous brand transformation, which has led us to obviously invest in these experiences and that we can immerse customers in. I think in terms of monetization, I think the only thing I'll say is that we have very specific KPIs that we put around each of these sponsorship events. So whether the KPIs are around building frequent usage or building awareness or basically building recall, for example, these are all KPIs that are individual to that sponsorship activity and obviously individual to the market. And we track this quite closely. There are very specific tactical initiatives that we do, which I talked about earlier, where we do package priceless experiences for really hardcore fans and make them available for sale. So you can purchase them because you're a Mastercard card holder. And that's also a quantitative way that we track sort of the measure and the take up of that event. But really, a lot of the KPIs are linked back to sort of brand recall and long-term loyalty and engagement.
Roland?
We basically use the same tactics, I would say, although different KPIs. For us, where we try to link in stronger is by at unexpected areas and events, we come up with small pop-up boxes and events where you can actually win something that would then basically bring you and expose you to a much, much larger Mercedes-Benz experience and world. Not as simple as basically just throwing banners up there, but trying to generate very, very specific esports specific experiences in these channels. And we are still acting on a surprise factor because nobody expects us to really be there.
Yes.
And then by creating such a hello factor, we create a very, very strong emotional bond with the brand. And I think that we can measure by how often people also basically continue to click further into our Mercedes world and get in contact with our respective organizations. This is much, much easier for us also to measure, but it would be too simple to simply say we're counting clicks. That's not enough, because the emotional connect that we can create is something that goes very well and extremely beyond the normal click counting. So I think what we managed to do by working with companies like Riot is that we enable also by pointing them in a direction that we see has benefits and opening up possibilities for them as well, that in that context we can also shape the future of esports in a certain degree.
And then talking about shaping the future, esports is changing the way that people market their brands, but it's also changing consumer behavior as well. It's a different from the traditional way that you are consuming media, consuming brands. How do you think esports has affected the consumer behavior overall?
No, look, I mean, ultimately, I don't know if it's changed consumer behavior or whether or not it's become extremely popular, because consumer behavior was kind of headed in that direction anyway. And I think certainly, we've seen the big growth in terms of digital, social, peer-to-peer. I mean, Twitch as a new platform, growing faster than, what we've ever seen on YouTube, for example. My kids all wanting to be Twitch stars. They don't want to be YouTubers anymore. That's really, I think, could be the shape of what esports has done to us as consumers, but in some ways there is a lot that's been happening that was naturally going to lead us down that path anyway. So I just think it's a natural evolution of what we've been doing, I think, with sports, and then now I think with esports and people actually still wanting to play competitively or professionally but electronically. I think that's just a natural evolution of that's how society was evolving anyway.
Roland, I see you shaking your head, like nodding in approval. Do you some people in your family want to be streamers as well?
No. No.
No.
Maybe I was a bad example. I don't know. But for me, what I think, what we see, and you asked the right question there, how is a company like us, like Mercedes-Benz, how are we even able to shape something like that? I believe we have in the meantime a lot of connectivity, and everybody is looking for the holy grail of how do you engage with customers. I believe that what is happening and what we see happening with esports is somewhat of a revolution, because it gives a lot more credibility to something that was, you know, a nerdy kind of approach to interact with other people. This is now taking much more seriously. It's much more competitive. It's much more financially rewarding as well, with basically Olympics for esports as well, and these things basically push all the right buttons with all of our potential future customers as well. And I think what is the big area to be learned from that is, how is society now merging into a more internet-based society that has, for maybe also the wrong reason in regards to COVID-19, different needs, different aspects at what they're looking for in life, while still being emotionally and also culturally in touch with others. And the experimental way how this industry, as we could say in the meantime, is also growing, is showing us where are the dead ends, what are areas that can be looked more into, and where do we all see improvements. Because as I explained before, our biggest topic at the moment is how, as a very retail based and traditional industry, how do we engage with customers in a completely different way. Interactivity is becoming a major topic for us. So all of our retail stores are also becoming massively interactive, linking customers with virtual reality approaches, and making the experience, even in a three-dimensional way, much more emotional than we could ever do it in a normal way. But at the same time, we're bridging now into new businesses, into new business concepts altogether, in order to become even closer to customers. And all of these things, if you throw that together, they have a strong resonance in the potential learnings that we see in esports as well.
I think, you know, you put it right. I mean, no wonder you were looking and I was thinking, what is Roland thinking? And I think you did it well, the way that you were explaining about that. And it's really the maturation of the consumers within the esports sector as well, that, you know, it's evolving. And you can't really treat it as a traditional sport. You know, Matthew Archambault, the head of esports partnerships and business development for North America at Riot Games, he was saying in one interview, he said that, you know, the target, of course, is young people, but it's different from what approach you would take if you were going to go into sponsoring basketball or baseball or any other traditional games, because it's really interactive. You are engaging with the players at the same time that they're playing. So then we're looking at the next stage, of course, and that is a digital economy. And Roland, you were saying that as well, how all the brands, everyone is going to get more digital. How is esports then, if we want to get into this issue a little bit more, how is esports pushing the bar or driving a digital economy right now? Eileen or Roland, anyone?
Eileen, you go ahead.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Esports is the epitome of all the digital behaviors that we're seeing, right? So think about it, professional sports, but gone completely digital. And really, you know, the way we think, exactly like I think, you know, what we talked about, if you think about sort of basketball or soccer or tennis, all of these, or golf, a lot of these properties we sponsor today. Esports is really sort of the digitization of that competitive sport, which has now become in the SEA Games and in the Olympics and so on and so forth. The digital economy around that is, as consumers, if you want to participate in this in this particular sport, you basically have to pay, and there is nothing that is not digital about that, right? So whether you are logged in, subscribed, downloaded a game, you start playing, you need to buy, trade things within the game, for example, there is a whole digital economy that happens within that, which certainly is linked to digitization, but also the cashless economy, which is something that Mastercard has been driving for a very, very long time. So that absolutely, you know, is something that we're very supportive of. The economy around gaming credits, for example, is one of the fastest growing in the world. It's almost like the new purchase norm behavior. So as gaming esports grows, so does the entire pool of spend that consumers are now investing in today to be invested in the games that they play, whether it's through credits, equipment, so on and so forth.
Roland?
On our side, I think, and what we've seen in the last 2 years is it grew traditionally by copying most of the more traditional approaches in normal sports as well, by sponsorships, by mimicking more or less what we also see in professional sports around the world as well. Now we're just on the brink of seeing that it can provide much more also in a sense of economy than what we have seen so far. So, and again, I see COVID-19 as a fast forward button that will accelerate a lot new developments in a much faster way. And just like how retailing has been changed dramatically with the alternative offerings from the online stores, and whole retail chains had to change and adopt new practices, new ways of basically getting in touch with customers and supporting them. The same thing we see also applicable in esports. It's a huge learning field that will give us, if we listen properly enough and if we can distinguish also the challenges in an appropriate way, we can learn a lot from that on how we need to change as well in order to be still relevant with customers in another 150 years.
Wow. And talking about the future, 150 years ahead, you know, from
we have 130 years of experience.
Yes, yeah, okay, that's a really good tie-in. From the global brands viewpoints, what do you think about the future? I think I want to end with this. What do you think about the future of gaming and the esports industry? We were talking a little bit about the next year to come, but let's take a look at what is expected to evolve and what is expected to change. What do you think will be happening towards the end of this year and onwards? Anyone would like to
Roland,
start?
would you like to go first?
Yeah, because I don't have any specific expectations as such, as a brand in that context. What I have is basically the hope that that we can develop this much faster, much further. I believe it is really a fast forward button in a society that can help us to interact with other people differently. Sports is a fantastic carrier for this kind of an emotion. Sports is a fantastic carrier for this kind of interaction between people in a competitive but fair way. Sports, as we all know, is able to bring people together. So in spite of all the difficulties that we will face in the foreseeable future as well, whether we're gonna have vaccines or not, whether we can travel freely again or not, esports and all its potential other aspects in life can really change our lives in a positive way and enable us to continue to work together, play together, enjoy life together in a sense that was not maybe possible 2-3 years ago. And in that sense, I strongly believe that we as a brand are still going in the right direction in this context. I believe this interaction will help everybody. If it brings people together in a positive sense, then we all, I think, have achieved something. And it is not, I would say, Eileen, a pure incident that two extremely strong brands on an international scale are following a similar path and go in the same direction. You know, there are some, I think, expectations that all of us have by doing this, and we all feel extremely well. I'm happy to hear that also from you, Aline, and we all feel extremely well and good position in that context.
Roland, I think you said it very well, and I know, you know, there are many people who are watching this interview, and I think one of the things that, you know, made Mastercard extremely interested, I talked about passion points, and it's not just about sponsoring an event. We were trying to look for something that was a passion, and we were keen to basically identify and connect with audiences as important as yourself, right, as consumers, and we were trying to find something that you were passionate about so that we could show that as a brand we understood you. And esports, I think, as we discussed a lot during this interview, has a lot of those great beginnings. It is social, it is team, it is digital, it's going to grow, it's going to become mass, women love it, men love it. And at the same time, there is so much opportunity for co-creation in terms of content, brand messaging. Some of the ambassadors that are now related to esports, they're cool, they're young, they're hip, they're not nerdy or geeky, it's aspirational. And so really from a brand property perspective, there is nothing more that I think a big established brand could look for in terms of being able to connect with what must be the most important audience segment in the world. The young, up-and-coming audience that, you know, will grow into products and the consumer lifestyle over time. But really, you know, it's been such a great property. Where it will go, very much like Roland, we don't know. But certainly the nature of the sport, I think as life becomes more digital, it can only grow more. So I think there's no question about it. It's something that, you know, we look to work with for a very long time. We see a lot of potential.
Wow. What a wonderful panel talk. Thank you so much to both of you for sacrificing your time. I know both of you are very busy, and so we're very happy indeed that we have been able to talk to you about this very important movement, and that both of you are part of it as well. And we look forward for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Sawadee-krap, everyone, and also greetings to everyone who's watching this session from anywhere in the world. My name is Do-hyun, but I also go by the name of DH in English, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Twitch in APAC. I'm very, very excited to be here today to introduce who we are and share some of the knowledge that we have with you all, especially because I love Thailand a lot, and I see a lot of growth potential in esports in the region, not just in Thailand, but also many other regions in Southeast Asia. So today I'm going to talk about the secret to build a thriving community on Twitch and create meaningful connections with fans. So what is Twitch? For those of you who are not very familiar with Twitch, Twitch is a live interactive streaming service with content that spans gaming, sports, entertainment, music, and more. Since the overarching topic of the summit is esports, I will try to focus on esports and gaming. However, I wanted to call out that Twitch hosts a lot of different content outside of just gaming, but still the same demographic of the audience enjoy, such as music, talk show, and traditional sports. So Twitch launched in 2007 as part of a live streaming website, Justin.tv. And gaming category grew exceptionally fast, and it became the most popular content on the website. So it eventually spun off as Twitch in 2011. Twitch then became part of Amazon in 2014, and we are now an independently operated subsidiary. As you can see in the slides, we have many offices worldwide, headquartered in San Francisco And also we have a team based in the beautiful city of Bangkok and also Singapore in APAC, or in Southeast Asia. So we have 4 different categories of stakeholders in our business: viewers, creators, advertisers, and partners. Here, by saying partners, I am referencing business partners primarily, because we also call our content creators partners, but in this specific matter, I'm referencing business partners. These stakeholders are all extremely very important for our business because we always work with these stakeholders. However, today, I'm going to be more focusing on content creators. This is just some numbers that represents how big Twitch is globally. We have 1.5 million viewers at any given time, meaning if you go live on Twitch, you will be able to get an opportunity to be exposed to 1.5 million global audience. And 15.5 million daily unique viewers and 10 billion live hours watched in 2019, and we grew a lot in 2020 as well. Today, I will assume that the core audience of my session is content creators with a broader meaning. What do I mean by content creators? Content creator, it can mean anything from individual streamer to esports teams, to tournament organizers, to even product brands who want to engage with gaming audiences, because they all can produce content, especially live content on Twitch. And as you can imagine, they are the ones who should be working hard to build a thriving community and a meaningful connection with the audience on Twitch. I will talk about 3 important things that you should know in order to actually nurture a big community on Twitch, and also create good connection with the audience on our service. The first thing that I would like to talk about is build your own brand. I have seen a lot of content creators who think that they can just stream on Twitch and then that will bring in viewers. However, unfortunately, that is not the case. A lot of skillful professional gamers start streaming, but sometimes they fail to build a sizable community. Why? Because they have not thought about building their own brand. Your content needs to be something that viewers will come back again for. You have to be welcoming your viewers and proactive to engage with your viewers and talk to them and answer their questions in live broadcasts, and try to create content that your viewers would love to watch. I would like to also provide my advice to the esports team owners. Please help your players build their own brand as content creators for their sustainable career. A lot of professional gamers, they start their career as content creator, and then they sometimes become professional player. And then after retirement, they come back to become a full-time content creator. So we really support this idea because they cannot sustain without having a full-time job after the retirement. So without building their own brand as a content creator, it is very difficult for them to create their fan base, create their community on Twitch. So this is really important from the get-go. Second thing is discovery. Do not entirely rely on Twitch to be discovered by the audience. This is not just about Twitch, but about any other live streaming services out there. In the US, for example, a lot of large content creators such as Ninja, Shroud, Tfue, they all use their social media to let people know they're going live on Twitch. They use different social channels which serve the purpose well in order to communicate with their fans more effectively. If you are a tournament organizer, do the same. You should absolutely try to build your own fan base on any social media channels that you have that you can operate. And then every time you go live on Twitch, make sure to communicate that through a lot of different social channels where your potential audience become aware of the fact that you're live, your content is on. And then those social channels will drive your audience back to Twitch, your channel on Twitch, so they will be able to enjoy the content that you created. Lastly, engagement is everything. What is engagement? Engagement is where you basically retain your viewers on your content. In this digital internet era, a lot of people get distracted even when they are watching something. You always need to think about how to make your viewers more engaged. As I mentioned before, as a content creator, you have to be more proactive to actually communicate with your viewers. For example, try to do more things with your viewers real time. Twitch is one of the best live streaming service where you can actually do something simultaneously with your viewers, as we provide ultra low latency video streaming. Meaning, if your viewer, or one of your viewers asks a question to you, you can almost immediately provide the answer to that question without any significant delay. This is the beauty of Twitch. So please try to use that, try to take advantage of that, and then try to engage with your viewers simultaneously. Maybe you can play games together with your viewers, because your viewers will love that. A lot of content creators in many different countries, they use Twitch to play games with their friends. Also, one of the most effective ways to engage your viewers is to give them rewards for watching your content on Twitch. For example, we work very closely with game companies, game publishers and developers to provide exclusive in-game items as a reward via a product called Drops. Drops is something that reward your viewers by the time that they watch your content. And if you are streaming, you're playing a specific game that offers drops, then you can be eligible to activate drops on your channel. So viewers will come to your channel and then watch your gameplay, and then they can also get reward from the game company. So this basically creates a very, very healthy environment where everyone wins. So viewers win because they can get digital items, and also game companies win because they can basically provide more opportunities to their fans and also acquire more new users through that. And also, as content creator, you are indirectly rewarding your fans through this drops. So Drops is one of the most impactful tools that Twitch can give to content creators so that they can engage better with their fans. To reiterate what I said today, first thing is build your own brand, and second thing is discovery. Use whatever it takes to make sure you are well discovered, easily discovered by the audience, even outside of Twitch. And lastly, engagement is everything. We, Twitch, always try to become the best place for all content creators to build a thriving community by providing the right tools and products. Hope you can find more fun ways to engage with your viewers on Twitch and build a tight-knit community of gamers around the world. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I am a partner manager at YouTube Gaming, working closely with publishers and creators across APAC. Today, I would love to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes to share with you how to grow, a few tips on how to grow your audience with us and what are massive opportunities that's ahead of you. So first of all, we all know that gaming industry is really big. There are billions of players globally, and the number is still growing really fast. So how about the situation on YouTube? On YouTube, there's no exception. We see more than 200 million login daily active users coming to our platform watching gaming every single day. And this number is still growing. So there's a really large community, passionate, enthusiastic gamers that comes to YouTube every single day. And what makes YouTube gaming unique? First of all, I want to share 4 pillars of our focus. How do we think about our business? We think about our business from different content angle, different formats. For example, the VOD, live streaming, or mobile gaming and esports. From the partner perspective, we work with 2 main type of partners, including the YouTube creators as well as the publishers. On YouTube Gaming, there's very diverse type of content offering, from whether it's live streaming of a temple event, a capture of the gameplay, a trailer, for example, PSFI, when there's a key industry announcement, they come to YouTube and share that news via YouTube to their fans. Or premieres, just like how the filmmakers, they share the upcoming film with their friends. With their fans through premiere. Publisher also leverage this feature on YouTube to give heads up to their fans and create excitement on what's upcoming. Also, there are tons of documentaries for the famous esports players or the teams to portray their journey growing up to and their professional life. On YouTube, you see the biggest live streamers globally. Dynamo Gaming here is a creator from India. He has built out 8.77 million subscribers. Whenever he goes on live, there are tons of fans coming to watch while he plays, and also interact with other fans in the chat room together. Laserbeam is another good example of how massive the fan base is. Earlier this year, he covered the release of Fortnite Season 3, and that event, that live stream alone peaked over 910K viewers. This is the highest peak concurrent we have seen from a creator across all platforms. Talking about events, E3, this year we don't have a physical event presence due to COVID. However, the publishers and the event organizers, they pivot to YouTube for digital solution to still bring those exciting news to their fans. The announcement of PS5, which is a highly anticipated update from PlayStation, peaked around 2.1 million concurrent viewers. There are more than 200 million. There are more than 2 million people who come and watch it together. Also, these are all the leagues, all the esports league. Talking about esports, these are the premium content from all the leagues that are available on YouTube. You can see there's very diverse type of content here, from official tournament by the publisher, third-party organizer, brand organizer, from mobile title to PC title to different kind of games. Also, all the esports team are linking. Faker, Doubly, for example, are two very famous, worldwide, well-known players. They have built up their fan base, and this really becomes a home to their fans. People come to us to cheers for them, and also to interact with each other. This also build a very strong branding for them and brings in a lot of sponsorship opportunities. Same goes to the teams. EVOS and RQ are two very strong esports team in Southeast Asia region. They have players playing across different kind of game titles, and they have very polished YouTube channels bringing all these highlights and the best moments of the gameplay of their player to the fan. The marrying between mobile and esports has been a phenomenon in the past few years. Mobile esports is growing really fast. Using the grand finals for the game Free Fire, published by Garena last year, for example, the finals in Portugal, in Portuguese, peak around 1.1 viewers concurrently. This really makes mobile a top tier esports. It has evolved from a more singly casual based type of titles to a very competitive gameplay. And there's a whole ecosystem exists on YouTube for their sponsorship opportunities, large revenue coming in. It becomes a viable career for the players, for the content creators alike. And Brawl Stars is another good example. This is a title published by Supercell. They leverage Premiere to tell a game update to their fan. This event alone peaked around 750K peak concurrent. So mobile esports has become a really integral part of the gaming content that's available on YouTube, and is a magnet of viewership, attracting tons of eyeballs. So we know there are lots of audience and lots of content. For the following session, I want to share some tips with you and to really encourage you to think from these three angles when it comes to capturing all the eyeballs that I shared with you earlier. Before I dive into the three tips I want to mention one stat. 48% of the YouTube gamers tell us they spend more time watching gaming videos on YouTube than playing games. This is watching gaming content, watching gaming video is an important part of their gaming experience. They are also seeking the interactiveness that the platform can offer. They come here not to hang out with the streamer, the creators they like, also with their fellow gaming community. This also informs a lot of their purchase decision. This is where people come to discover new titles. This is where people come to learn the tips and tricks playing the games, and they continue to stay engaged, right? As you probably see, mobile game title tends to come and goes. You see different longevity of the game. Oftentimes, you will see a publisher who managed to keep their fans engaged for a very long time because their successful investment in content. So here's the first tip I want to share with you. When it comes to building your brand and presence on YouTube, you want to know who are your biggest supporters and talk to them. This is an example, using example, assuming if you're a game publisher, how you might look like in terms of building the creator community and building a long-term relationship with them. You want to make sure you celebrate the big moments with the creator community. From when the game first come out, sharing early access, sending the alpha, beta codes to their creator. This gives them the sense of exclusivity And also, this becomes a source of creation, right? Because they are creator. They are looking for reasons to create. Having this kind of material asset helps them to create, becomes an encouragement for them to create new content around this upcoming title. Once the game is out on the market, you want to further activate these creators by planning events to give creators fun and really like relaxing environment that they can play and connect with each other. Collaboration is a very important way of creators growing up on the platform. Through collaborating, connecting with their fellow creator, they also share the fan base. There are oftentimes new creative ideas coming out through the collaboration. So when you engage and build your creator community, you want to foster the environment for them to be able to do so. And this is very critical this is really a long time effort. This is not one-off. You have to spend, you have to invest in the longer run to make it successful. And lastly, whenever you will constantly have something new. Ideally, you want to have a lot of exciting news to share with your users, the players from time to time. When debuting a long form gameplay asset, for example, inviting creators and their fans to watch it together and to share the experience of like a movie theater like experience, getting to know the exciting news you are bringing to them. These are some of the ways along the journey that you could foster a loyal and engaged community on the platform. And the second tips that I want to mention is remember the power of your voice. You want to have a voice, an official voice on the platform, leveraging YouTube's scale, reach, and engagement to drive meaningful relationship. You want to use your official content and signal a brand vision. You want to be able to support and amplify the UGC, the user-generated content that aligns with your brand values by working closely with the community that you build up. Or you might want to co-develop original collaborative content by bringing guest creator onto the official content you create, making them part of it, empower them and reinforcing your own voice on the platform. And the third thing is go live. Gaming, live is a very important format. This is really because the audience you are speaking to here is looking to interact with others. There are many ways, many types of interaction they are looking for, whether it's with other players of the same game, with the streamers they like, or even between streamers. They constantly talk to each other, and YouTube is a great platform for such purpose. This is the home hosting all the videos, an easy archive of a live streaming content that you created. There's a live chat, different kind of interactive feature available in the chat room. There's different moderating choices that you could make sure to ensure the quality of the live chat experience. There are different kind of monetization products that you could leverage. For reach and discovery, there are a lot that YouTube can offer and to really help you to get to the heart of your fan. Besides the three tips, and which are really just a quick glimpse of what are the different ways that you want to think about to build out your content and your branding on YouTube, I want to mention one additional resources, which is the YouTube Creator Academy. Here, there's a bunch of different kind of courses, depends on the goal you want to achieve, short-term, long-term, the audience you want to reach to. This is a great place to come and to look for tips to really build up your content play. I hope the above is helpful, and we look forward to working closely with all of you on YouTube.
สวัสดีค่ะ Hello everyone, my name is Som Nuchapha Trevijisin. I am Strategic Partner Manager from Facebook. Today, I'm here to share more details about Facebook gaming and how we are enabling gamers to make a living building community on Facebook. Gaming is closely tied to Facebook's mission of giving people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. As one of the world's most popular forms of entertainment, gaming brings people together in a way that transcends borders, gender, language, and age. So, what is Facebook gaming? We are committed to building the world's gaming community. So Facebook gaming is a destination for everyone to enjoy and experience games together. On Facebook gaming, people can find entertaining gaming videos to watch, build meaningful connection in gaming groups, follow their favorite creators, discover new games they'll enjoy, and play those games with people from across the globe, together all in one place. There are several entry points for you to access to the gaming contents on Facebook, starting from the gaming tab, which is available on Facebook web and mobile app. We have also launched a standalone Facebook gaming app for games enthusiasts who want a more focused experience. And of course, besides the gaming tab or gaming app, this gaming content can also be discovered as a next up video on Facebook Watch or on someone's new feed. Over time, we'll recommend and help you discover new creators based on the games and content you follow. To create a well-balanced gaming ecosystem for all gamers, we have three main pillars that will help Facebook gaming achieve the goal of building the world's gaming community: play, connect, and watch. The first pillar is play. We have more than 350 million people who play instant games each month. Instant games will let you play games anytime, anywhere on Facebook without having to download. Because we know that when you want to play, nothing should stop you. The second pillar is connect. This is where we have gaming groups for everyone, and new ones are starting up every day. You can follow updates from your gaming groups, connect with other group members, and find new groups to join. We have more than 230 million people who are active in over 630,000 gaming groups on Facebook each month. Last but not least, our third pillar, watch, is where our creators call home. You can share the joy and fun of rooting for creators as they play the games, plus find new videos from the biggest esports and gaming top publishers. Over 200 million people watch live gaming videos each month on Facebook. One of our fastest growing markets for gaming is Southeast Asia, and is driven in large part by the popularity of gaming video and our gaming creators in Thailand. For those unaware, gaming creators are those who create engaging content around the games they love. They broadcast themselves playing a video game, attract fans to watch the content they create, and engage with their fan bases. This is the type of people we are talking about. They play games and live stream them to Facebook for people to watch, hang out, and interact. Back in June 2018, we launched our partner gaming creator program in Thailand to help creators grow their gaming communities on Facebook. With the program in place for established creators, we follow up by launching our Level Up program to help emerging creators jumpstart their live streaming community and activate their earning potential to start a career doing what they love. We see creators often moving through this progression of just starting out as a beginner, experimenting it with live streaming, then joining the Level Up program, and eventually growing into an official partner. We have several of the most popular gaming creators with us today. Some of our partner gaming creators include Bass Gamer, RQG9, and Kip Ngai, to name a few. Next, I'd like to introduce you to PJY Gamer, who is one of the first creators in Thailand to join the Facebook Gaming Creator Program. PJY was a lawyer who graduated from one of the top institutions in Thailand and decided to become a gaming video creator after he realized his passion and talent in gaming. Let's find out more about his background and how he has seen growth since he joined Facebook Gaming.
เอาละครับสวัสดีคุณผู้ชมชาวไทยเชื้อสายดาวอังคารทุกคนด้วยนะครับยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่กรุงเทพมหานครนะครับผมพีเจวายเกมเมอร์นะฮะและนี่คือชีวิตประจำวันของผมนะครับไปดูกันเลย Let's goก็ตั้งแต่เด็กนะครับผมก็รู้ตัวเองแล้วว่าครอบครัวเนี่ยไม่ได้ร่ำรวยอะไรก็เห็นแม่ทำงานหนักพ่อก็ขับรถนะครับแต่ว่าก็ไม่ได้เงินเยอะเท่าไหร่นะครับก็รู้สึกว่าอยากให้ครอบครัวมีชีวิตความเป็นอยู่ที่ดีกว่านี้ตอนเด็กๆก็เลยตั้งใจเรียนผมเป็นคนเกรดค่อนข้างดีนะครับแต่ว่าในอีกทางหนึ่งก็ติดเกมด้วยก็เล่นเกมด้วยผมชอบเล่นเกมแต่ว่าก็ต้องตั้งใจเรียนมันก็พยายามไปด้วยกันได้วันหนึ่งเนี่ยผมได้ไปเจอกับการเล่นเกมที่มันสามารถสร้างรายได้ได้จนนี้เกมสามารถดูแลผมแล้วก็ดูแลไปถึงครอบครัวให้ทุกวันนี้สบายอันนี้ก็คือบ้านของผมนะครับมันอาจจะรกรุงรังนิดหน่อยนะครับไม่ได้หรูหรามากมายแต่ก็ผมอยู่แล้วแฮปปี้นะครับเพราะว่าอาหารแถวนี้อร่อยมากครับผม ตามมาครับเข้ามาก็เจอแม่ผมนั่งอยู่ตรงนี้นะครับแม่ทำอะไรอยู่ครับ
แม่เย็บผ้าชุด
แม่กำลังทำชุดนี้อยู่นะครับแม่ผมตอนนี้รู้ไหมว่าลูกทำอะไรอยู่พีเจวายเกมเมอร์คืออะไรรู้ไหมครับ
ไม่รู้
ทำไมไม่รู้อ่ะแม่เปิดให้ดูครับลูกเล่นเกมอยู่นี่
เล่นเกมได้ตังค์ตรงไหนลูก
เดี๋ยวลูกโชว์ให้ดูนะครับเดี๋ยวผมพาไปดูนะครับข้างบนครับตามมาครับก็ตอนนี้นะครับผมเป็นส่วนหนึ่งในโครงการ Facebook for Creator Program นะครับเพราะว่าผมมองเห็นว่า Facebook เนี่ยมีฐานคนดูที่ยิ่งใหญ่มากในโลกนี้นะครับแล้วก็เป็นอันดับหนึ่งในประเทศไทยด้วยนะครับทำให้คอนเทนต์ที่ผมสร้างขึ้นมาเนี่ยสามารถเข้าถึงคนดูได้มากขึ้นนะครับกว่าแพลตฟอร์มอื่นนะครับก็ในการเริ่มสตรีมครั้งแรกนะครับในช่วงแรกๆก็คนดูประมาณ 200-300 นะครับแต่ว่าพอเราสตรีมไปเรื่อยเนี่ยคนดูก็เยอะขึ้นเรื่อยๆวันนี้ก็เยอะมากกว่าเดิมประมาณ10 เท่าแล้วครับทุกวันนี้ผมรู้สึกมีความสุขมากครับในการที่ได้ตื่นมาทำในสิ่งที่ตัวเองรักทุกวันและสิ่งนี้สามารถสร้างรายได้ให้เราด้วยโดยที่เราไม่ต้องทำงานอย่างอื่นไม่ต้องทำงานที่เราไม่ชอบอะไรเงี้ยครับมันเป็นความรู้สึกเหมือนกับขึ้นสวรรค์จนผมไม่อยากจะลงมาแล้วครับโอเคครับถึงเวลาที่เราจะต้องบอกลากันแล้วนะครับวันนี้ผมสนุกมากนะครับเป็นยังไงบ้างครับสนุกกันหรือเปล่านะครับถ้าเกิดว่าสนุกเนี่ยอย่าลืมชูนิ้วขึ้นมาแล้วกดไลค์ด้วยนะครับผมสำหรับนี้ก็ตัวลาไปก่อนนะครับ
As you can see from the video, PJY is one example of our gaming creators who put a lot of time, effort, and love into what they do. Here at Facebook, we want to ensure that gaming creators continue to pursue their passion and have an opportunity to earn money for their work. So we have built some features to support them. The first feature is Facebook Stars. Facebook Stars is a feature that allows gaming creators to monetize their live streaming content. Viewers can buy and send stars to the gaming creators using the stars button shown in the comment section. This is how fans can show their support and thank creators for their content. Besides sending messages with stars, fans can also send animated virtual GIFs that will appear in real time for the creator and other viewers to see during the live stream. This feature was originally built for gaming creators and is now rolling out to additional non-gaming creators too. The second feature is the fan subscriptions. Fan subscriptions allow dedicated audiences to support the pages they love with monthly recurring payments. Supporters are rewarded with perks like a supporter badge, exclusive content, merchandise discount codes, or closer access to the creator through supporter group. A good example of exclusive benefits for supporters are the sticker sets, which creators can design and customize. Only supporters can use these stickers on the creator's page to stand out from other viewers. Fan subscriptions are available to all partner creators as well as level up creators and non-gaming creators in Thailand who pass the fan subscription criteria. Next is about ads, where viewers can indirectly support creators by watching ads. Over the past few months, we have been testing live ads with our gaming creators and are excited to share that live ads are now available to all partner gaming creators. People watching a live stream from our partners may see either a pre-roll ad that runs before the live stream, an image ad that appears below the live stream, or a new format, a mid-roll ad, which show in the main video player during the live stream, while the broadcast keeps playing in a smaller window. We are also starting to beta test ways for partner creators to monetize their previously live streams in form of pre-roll, image, and mid-roll ads. Now, we are working on the new ad format called Live Breaks, which is designed to give gaming creators more control over the ad experience for their viewers. Live breaks are longer ad breaks that allow creators to step away, stretch, and take a quick break while keeping their audience engaged. The new format blends creator-generated content such as clips and highlights with a traditional ads experience. Last but not least, Brands Collabs Manager. Brands Collabs Manager makes it easier for creators to get discovered for paid partnership and unlock the earning potential on Facebook. Creators can connect with brands looking to promote their products and services through the relationship creators have with their fans, then collaborate on campaigns that can increase engagement. Brands can win new fans through the authentic connections that our gaming creators have with their audiences. Brands Collabs Managers makes it easy for brands to find the right creators, get clear insights on their most engaged followers, and partner on branded content you can promote with targeted ads. Facebook Gaming can also help brands to engage in gaming ecosystem through our gaming video creators on a scaled campaign. We are partnering with many gaming video creators and connecting them with brands who are interested in doing sponsorship to promote the product or service through our creators. There were several brands from various industries, including games publishers, FMCG, or IT, who worked together with us to do an early beta product test with our innovative solution to create bigger impact for their influencer marketing campaign. If you want to engage with our creators to capture the attention from gaming audiences, please feel free to reach out to our creator service provider, Online Station, or Magic Box Digital for more details. Finding ways to help our creators grow their communities and monetize their content will continue to be a big focus for us. We want Facebook Gaming to be a place where gaming creators can earn the most from the awesome gaming content they are passionate about. With that in mind, you can soon find even more updates about these products on our Facebook Gaming website at fb.gg/home. Thank you very much. Finding ways to help our creators grow their communities and monetize their content will continue to be a big focus for us. We want Facebook Gaming to be a place where gaming creators can earn the most from the awesome gaming content they are passionate about. With that in mind, you can soon find even more updates about these products on our Facebook Gaming website at fb.gg/home. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining this session. I'm pleased to tell you about our experience in the Southeast Asia, especially for the developer out there. Based on our operation in the region for over 3 years, I'm sure we have a lot of things to share with you. First, let me introduce myself first. My name is Isra Talananda. I run Nexon office in the region. Nexon is a global developer and publisher. We are listed in the stock market of Tokyo, and we are established in Korea. And we operate about 150 games across the globe. So we have a long experience into this area. So why don't we get started? Let me share you what we have learned so far. So let me tell you about the Southeast Asian mobile market. We are actually the 6th largest mobile gaming market in the world, following from US, Japan, China, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong. So I think that's very significant. And if you look individually as a country, Thailand is probably one of the top one. Number 14 in the world, followed by Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, all of them in the top 30. So I think that's all very significant market. And I'm sure in the coming years, other markets like Myanmar, Laos, those will be significant as well. Okay, one thing to note from this is that China market may be underrepresented because it only measures the revenue from the store, not the third-party market that China has a lot of. Okay. All right, let's look at the overall market. The reason I think our market is very big is because of the huge population that we have, over 670 million. We have 250 million mobile gamers and over 10 countries in the region. And we always hear a lot of things about this region has the highest time spent on the mobile internet, whether it's Philippines who spend 10 hours a day on the internet, Thailand over 9 hours, so that's huge and significant, one of the top in the world. And that's why Southeast Asia represents a great opportunity for the app and game developer to expand their user base and business. In overall, news reported that the game revenue for the region for 2019 was $4.4 billion US. That's quite a lot, and the growth was around 16% year on year. If we look at our operation in the region, we have been growing at 60%. So that's higher than the average so far. And this is only for data for the third quarter. So I'm sure this year will finish much higher. Okay. Now, I think we have talked about the overview of the region and what we see this market as high potential and the growth is significant. So what we can tell you about our experience in the region, being operated here for over 3 years. First thing is about the country uniqueness. Even though Southeast Asian market as a whole is a very big market, each country has its own challenges and I think unique appeals towards the game. First of all, they speak different languages and customer preference and culture are very different. So if you look at Thailand revenue on the left slide, left graph, you saw the market is very dominated by action game, like 39%. Those are games like PUBG, Free Fire, ROV or AOV. Role-playing games is the second largest genre, so I think that's taking like 33%, and then other type of the category of games are over there. This will be very different from Singapore, Indo, Philippines, and others. So that's one of the first challenges. If you look at the top grossing chart from Thailand, Singapore, and Vietnam, you see that the top games, they are all different. You may see some games that are common across the top 10, and I think those are the game that has done pretty well in the region and also worldwide. But if you look specifically, I think there's some different in there. Okay. And for example, like RPG games, like fantasy games, those are, they have different strength in different market. I think in Vietnam, it's a very RPG heavy or RPG dependent market. So it has a lot of RPG there, 7 out of 10 games or 6 out of 10 games there. For Singapore as well, and Thailand, I think it's geared toward more of the action game instead of RPG games. So how can you be successful in this market? This is the core of the things that I want to share with you. The first one, I will call culturalization. Basically, the first thing you must do is you have to localize the language, make the translation into different languages that are used in the region. I think the main one that we usually translated are English, Vietnamese, Thai, and Bahasa. Those are the biggest market that we have. Oh, and also Chinese. Chinese cover Malaysia and Singapore market. So you want to launch your games in the region, I think it doesn't work to only have only English. It's only capture a very small part of the market. So please spend your time translating the game. Secondly, the pricing. If you have been to some of the session before, you probably have heard about the localized pricing. As you know, disposable income for the region is not as high as the developed market. So I think you have to really make the pricing attractive to the local market. Google and Apple keep sharing that you should start pricing at $1 or 99 cents. I think it's a good start to get people to try the game. And also the packages that you try to sell, it cannot be the same price as the US or Korea or China. It should be cheaper, at least by 30 to 40%. That's what we have done with our games in the region. For example, World Dragoness, the example you see on the right. Our monthly package starts at 300 gems. Basically, that's $4.99, and that's for the whole month. We call it monthly diamond package. Usually for this price that we sell in the US, it would be maybe $7.99 or $9.99. So as you can see, we have discounted price down, and that will in turn increase the pay rate from the user in the region. This is not just for our game. I think a lot of games also do it. Free Fire, for example, from Korea, they price differently for different market. For Taiwan, monthly pass would be $8. For Vietnam, it will be the same price will cost half or $4. So I think that is normal. You have to accept that the Southeast Asian people, we cannot afford a high price as in the US or elsewhere. Apart from Singapore, of course, they can pay much more. Okay, the next one that I want to share with you is regarding the actual culturalization. Basically, this is example from our game X. Before we launched the game, which was developed from Korea, there was a certain type of graphic style which we know it will be appealing to the Korean market. But when we want to launch in the US, in Japan, or in Southeast Asia, we have to localize it or culturalize it into the type of the graphic that the region like. Like for example, in Japan, you see it's more like a cute character, cute girl with big eyes. I think that's a trend that's more appealing to the Japanese market. So that's something that you can do to make the game more appealing. But back to the previous slide, of course, you have to ensure that you have to translate the language first and try to make the price at the right point to penetrate the market. The second key success factor that I want to share with you, if you want to enter the market or the region, is that you should optimize your app. This is some data from the Indonesian market. The Indonesian, before they even install the game or an app, they consider about the size of the app first. So because it will have impact on the Wi-Fi or the 3G, 4G usage that they have. So 76% said that the app size is important. So consider trying to optimize and make your app as small as possible. As you know, the internet penetration and the network infrastructure here are not as good as other regions in the world. Also, for the right side, what I'm trying to show is that over here we have a variety of brands, especially the Chinese brand of smartphone. So it's not enough to try to just optimize your game or apps for Samsung, for example, or Apple iPhone, because we have so many brands that take a large market share. For example, Indonesia, we have Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Realme, and others. Those are important as well. And as you see, they are getting like over 10% or even 20% market share. So you have to optimize your game, test it with all these phone devices, and to ensure that it works well, or else you cut your market potential by quite a lot. For us, from our experience in Korea, we have kind of difficulty trying to procure some of these mobile devices. So maybe from the region, we have to send it to Korea to try to test it, right? If you are a developer in the region, I think it's not hard to try to get this device to test. So just ensure you test them well. Use the Google or the Apple console to test and to find if there's some kind of a crash or bugs with different models, and trying to solve it before you launch the game. The third key success factor I want to share with you is partnership. As you know, Apple and Google are very dominant in the region. One of the key success is that you have to work with them closely, trying to get your apps feature. Basically, I show you some example here. Basically, trying to get your app noticed and being found by the user. Work with Apple, work with Google in advance, trying to get your app pre-registration, as you can see example from overheat to the right here, and even card rider rush to the rightmost. What good the pre-registration can do is that it will notify you when the game is available. Some of them even just background download and install the game for you. So I think that's a good way to try to get the install and the user to try the game. Apart from the platform, we work a lot with partners, telco partner in various markets. In Thailand, we work with AIS and others. In other markets like Philippines and Indonesia, we work with Glow, Smart, DG, Maxis, and a lot of telco. I think they are very strong and very good partners, as they have access to the customer, the mobile customer in those markets. And they can help you reach a lot of those customers easily, and they can help you push, whether it's through the payment and other ways. So this is just some example. So you want to enter the market in the region, trying to reach out to the telcos, they can help you a lot. And the last key success factor I want to share with you is regarding the engage, how you can engage the user. Once you have launched your games, trying to have a build community for your game in the local languages. The example I'm giving you here is for X. We have our Vietnam page, Facebook pages. We have a Thai in the middle. For Card Rider, for example, we do, apart from the Facebook page, we work a lot with the local influencer and have some esport with the game. So that's a key success factor. Instead of getting just the initial install, you want the game to last as long as possible. So that's why we need to keep the user engaged with the fresh and creative content, and trying to have like competition in esport. I think that's something that's wrap up the 4 key success factor that I have. So let me summarize a little bit. So I think overall Southeast Asia, it is a very big market. There's tremendous opportunity here. But also there are challenges with different languages, different mobile devices. And so you have to try to focus on the 4 key success factors, which I highlight here as COPE, as COPE. First is culturalization. You have to localize the language. You have to localize the pricing and try to adjust the graphic as if possible to match with the local taste. Second, optimization. Optimize your device as much as possible with all the mobile brands and device over here. Third, work with the partners, work with the telcos, work with the store, whether it's Apple or Google. They are your biggest ally in the region. And lastly, try to engage and keep your user and high retention for your game by having a local community, by having competition, and everything must be localized. You have to have a local customer support as well. So I think that will really help and make the user trust you for long term. So this ends my session. I hope you gain some knowledge from it. Feel free to contact with us if you want to know further. I'll be happy to share some information with you. You can talk with AIS. I will encourage you to do that. Thank you very much.
So for this session, I have to inform everyone that this following session is going to be conducted in Thai. The reason is simply because we want to include in this conversation as many Thai developers as possible. And we can do that better in Thai language. Sorry and thank you for your understanding. สวัสดีครับทุกท่านสำหรับเซสชันนี้นะฮะจะเป็นการมาประชุมกันเรียกได้ว่ามาให้ความคิดเห็นกันให้อินไซต์กันนะฮะกับเรื่องของวงการ Thai Developer นั่นเองท็อปิกสำหรับเซสชันนี้ฮะจะเป็นโอกาสหรือว่า opportunity of mega hits Thai games from Thai developers opinions หรือว่าความเรียกว่าความเห็นของทาง developer ชาวไทยตัวจริงที่มีประสบการณ์อยู่ในวงการบ้านเราอยู่แล้วเรื่องของรายละเอียดก็จะเป็นทำอย่างไรฮะเกมไทยถึงจะสามารถก้าวสู่ระดับโลกได้ปัจจัยอะไรที่ต้องมีเพื่อที่จะทำให้เกมที่กำลังพัฒนาประสบความสำเร็จวงการนักพัฒนาเกมไทยตอนนี้กำลังอยู่ในจุดไหนเมื่อเทียบกับนานาประเทศทั่วโลกในเซสชันนี้ผู้เชี่ยวชาญตัวจริงเสียงจริงในด้านการพัฒนาเกมของประเทศไทยพร้อมกับประธานสมาคมอุตสาหกรรมซอฟต์แวร์เกมไทยด้วยฮะจะมาตอบคำถามเหล่านี้กันรวมถึงพูดคุยเกี่ยวกับเคสที่เกิดขึ้นจริงในวงการการพัฒนาเกมในประเทศเราด้วยให้ทุกคนได้รับฟังกันครับผมหวังว่าจะได้อะไรติดไม้ติดมือกลับไปอย่างแน่นอนก็อย่างที่ว่ากันนะครับผมสปีกเกอร์ที่ผมพูดถึงเนี่ยมีเกริ่นกันมาแล้วคนแรกก่อนเลยดีกว่าคุณพลเทพเศรษฐิวัฒน์นายกสมาคมอุตสาหกรรมซอฟต์แวร์เกมไทยจากทาง Magic Box Asia หรือว่าคุณวินเซนต์นั่นเองฮะ
สวัสดีครับ
ครับผมต่อไปนะครับคุณนพพลวรรณเพ็ญสกุลครับเป็น Managing Director ของทาง Carroll Technology ฮะ
สวัสดีครับ
แล้วก็ท่านสุดท้ายครับปริเมศวงศ์สัตยานนท์ฮะเป็น CEO ของทาง Uniqueness Studio ฮะ
สวัสดีครับผม
อยากทราบว่าในสายตาของสปีกเกอร์ทั้ง3ท่านนะฮะปัจจุบันเนี่ยเกมของคนไทยประสบความสำเร็จมากน้อยแค่ไหนในระดับโลกในตอนนี้นะฮะไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของยอดขายหรือว่าเป็น critical reception หรือว่าคะแนนรีวิวอะไรต่างๆสามารถที่จะพูดถึงความคิดที่ตอนนี้เรามองกันอยู่ได้เลยฮะก็ฝากรบกวนอินไซต์ของทุกท่านด้วยฮะ
ได้ฮะงั้นเดี๋ยวผมลองเริ่มเกิดคร่าวๆก่อนดีกว่านะครับเพราะว่าในจริงๆในตัวอุตสาหกรรมซอฟต์แวร์เกมไทยเองเนี่ยเราในตัวสมาคมเองเราอยู่มาน่าจะเป็น10 ปีได้แล้วฮะแล้วก็เราก็จะโฟกัสด้านสนับสนุนเกมไทยในการไม่ว่าเป็นเชิงของการพัฒนาเกมไทยวางขายหรือทำยังไงให้up skill นะฮะเพิ่มประสิทธิภาพแล้วก็ของนักพัฒนาเกมไทยในหลายๆด้านในตัวสมาคมเราเองเนี่ยก็มีประมาณตอนนี้40 บริษัทนะฮะที่อยู่ข้างในแล้วก็ผมคิดว่าเกือบทุกบริษัทเนี่ยน่าจะมีการเคยปล่อยเกมเคยวางขายเกมหรือเคยสร้างเกมมากันทั้งหมดนะฮะจริงๆแล้ว จริงปีนี้นะฮะผมคิดว่าจริงๆเป็นปีหนึ่งในปีทองของวงการอุตสาหกรรมเกมไทยเลยเพราะว่าเรียกได้ว่าตั้งแต่ปีที่แล้วกับปีนี้เนี่ยมันมีไพป์ไลน์ของเกมไทยที่มีคุณภาพแล้วก็ได้รีวิวในระดับโลกนะฮะออกมาเรื่อยๆนะฮะก็ในวันนี้จริงๆอีกทั้งสองท่านที่นั่งอยู่กับเราเนี่ยทั้งคุณท็อปทั้งคุณเจมส์เองเนี่ยก็ค่อนข้างเดี๋ยวน่าจะส่งไม้ต่อให้ทั้งสองท่านแกพูดเองนะฮะว่าในตัวเกมเป็นยังไงแต่ว่าทั้งสองท่านก็ผลิตแล้วก็ปล่อยเกมที่ค่อนข้างเรียกว่าแมทชิ่งกับระดับโลกเลยนะฮะออกมาให้เราเห็นกันในปีนี้นะครับส่วนในด้านของอุตสาหกรรมที่ as a whole เนี่ยฮะก็จริงๆแล้วบ้านเราเนี่ยมีนักพัฒนาเกมไทยที่ค่อนข้างมีประสิทธิภาพเยอะเหมือนกันเรามีทั้งสองแง่นะฮะสร้างเกมออกมาแล้วก็ปล่อยขายเองแล้วก็อีกแง่หนึ่งก็คือเราทำเป็น outsource แล้วก็ทำงานให้บริษัทต่างประเทศที่ผลิตเกมดังๆออกมาระดับโลกหลายเกมเลยไม่ว่าเป็น Final Fantasy เป็น Hearthstone รู้สึกถึง Far Cry หรืออะไรอย่างนี้ก็มีนะฮะจริงเยอะมากครับแต่ส่วนใหญ่เราอาจจะไม่ได้มีโอกาสได้พูดออกมาเพราะว่าเป็นการร่วมงานกับบริษัทต่างประเทศก็เลยมีการเซ็น NDA มีอะไรอีกกันนะฮะ
เท่าที่ได้ยินมาก็คือเหมือนจะต้องมีการโฟกัสว่ามี2จุดด้วยกันคือในลักษณะที่เป็น Independent Studio ทำเองแล้วก็จัดจำหน่ายเองอะไรพวกนี้ด้วยแล้วก็จะมีส่วนที่เป็นลักษณะของ Manpower ที่จะเหมือนกับเป็นการ outsource มาจากสตูดิโอใหญ่ๆระดับโลกซึ่งจริงๆทั้ง2สิ่งนี้ก็ค่อนข้างที่จะเป็นอะไรที่ต้องพูดถึงทั้งคู่เพราะว่าคำว่า developer เนี่ยไม่ได้ include แค่เรื่องของการสร้างสตูดิโอของตัวเองอย่างเดียวด้วยเนาะ
ไม่ฮะ
ผมว่าเป็นอินไซต์ที่น่าสนใจมากๆครับผม
ครับ
โอเค
เดี๋ยวจริงๆผมอยากจะส่งต่อให้อีก2ท่านมากกว่าฮะว่าทั้งคุณท็อปทั้งคุณเจมส์เองเนี่ยอาจจะเล่าเกี่ยวกับตัวเกมของทั้ง2ท่านคร่าวๆนิดนึงนะครับ
เชิญคุณเจมส์ก่อนเลยไหมครับทั้งนั้น
ได้ครับผมก็สำหรับตัวไทม์ไลน์นะครับตอนนี้ก็จะมี Metacritic อยู่ที่77คะแนนนะครับหรือว่าถ้าบน Steam เองก็จะเป็นได้ overwhelming positive หรือว่า 97% คือผู้เล่นที่กดรีวิวเขาชื่นชอบเกมกันก็เรียกว่าเป็นคะแนนที่ท่วมท้นนะครับในมุมมองของผมนะฮะ
แต่ส่วนในเรื่อง
ครับผมแต่ส่วนเรื่องของยอดขายก็ถ้าเราเทียบในสเกลบ้านเราเองเราก็อาจจะรู้สึกว่าเราโอเคแต่ถ้าเทียบกับเกมสเกลโลกผมว่าเรายังเหมือนเป็นจุดเริ่มต้นเป็นน้องเล็กๆนะครับยังอีกไกลคิดว่าหนทางยังอีกยาวไกลนะครับ
เนื่องจากที่เราพูดถึงท็อปิกเนี่ยชื่อท็อปิกคือ Mega Hits เลยเนาะเราก็ต้องพูดถึงเกมแบบพวก AAA อะไรอย่างนี้กันด้วยซึ่งลักษณะบ้านเราตอนนี้เหมือนจะยังอยู่ในขั้นตอนที่เป็นพรีก่อนคืออยู่ในช่วงเกมอินดี้กันซะเยอะถูกไหมฮะ
ใช่ครับ
ก็ถือว่าเป็นการลุกตลาดแรกที่ถือว่าไปได้สวยงามทีเดียว
ครับผม
ทางฝั่งของคุณนพพลมีอะไรอยากจะพูดสักหน่อยไหมฮะสำหรับเรื่องนี้
คือถ้าบอกว่าตลาดเกมเนี่ยคือพวกเราที่เป็นเดฟเนี่ยผมว่าในระดับ international เนี่ยที่ออกไปกันยังไม่ประสบความสำเร็จยังไม่มีใครประสบความสำเร็จที่แบบเรียกว่าได้เนื้อได้น้ำแบบจากตลาดอินเตอร์สักเท่าไหร่แต่ว่ามันจะมีเดฟบางเจ้าที่เขาทำในไทยแล้วเขาก็ได้เนื้อได้น้ำมากกว่าเรานะก็คือเขาประสบความสำเร็จในระดับโลคอลแต่ด้วยคอนเทนต์เขาอาจจะออกไประดับโลกค่อนข้างยากนิดนึงอะไรเงี้ยครับผมมันแล้วแต่ตลาดเลยครับคือแต่ว่าเกมไทยเนี่ยก็เทียบกับ10 ปีที่ผ่านมาก็เกมมันก็พัฒนาขึ้นมาเรื่อยๆมีเกมดีๆขึ้นมาเรื่อยๆมีโปรดักชันที่ใหญ่ขึ้นเรื่อยๆแล้วผมคิดว่าปีหน้านี่น่าจะมีของหนักๆออกมาอีกให้เห็นอีกครับ
เป็นช่วงแรมอัพแล้วอะไรก็ว่าได้นะกำลังสตาร์ทไปได้สวยกันเลยทีเดียวถึงแม้ว่าก่อนหน้านี้อาจจะไม่ได้สวยขนาดนั้นถูกไหมฮะ
เพราะว่าเทคโนโลยีด้วยครับสมัยก่อนทำเกมมันต้องทำเอนจินทำอะไรกันเองแต่ว่าตอนนี้แบบเหมือนเป็นยุคที่แบบไม่ต้องมาเสียเวลาทำเอนจินอะไรละก็ทำคอนเทนต์แข่งกันทำคอนเทนต์ถ้าใครทำคอนเทนต์ได้ดีคืออย่างของเราเกม Eternal Blade เนี่ยถ้าเป็นสมัยก่อนเนี่ยถ้าต้องทำเอนจินขนาดนี้ทำไม่ไหวแน่นอนแต่ว่าพอมันเป็นยุคนี้ก็พอเรียกว่ามันพอทำได้แล้ว Eternal Blade แล้วก็เอมจะไป AAA นะแต่ว่ามันแบบเราก็ ยังติดขัดหลายเรื่องที่มันยังไปไม่ถึงอย่างเงี้ยครับผมแต่ก็ดีขึ้นไปเรื่อยๆเราก็พัฒนาไปเรื่อยๆครับผม
ก็คือช่วงนี้ถ้าเกิดมองในจากสายตาของ developer น่าจะถือว่าวงการเกม accessible มากขึ้นแบบเข้าถึงได้มากขึ้นในเรื่องของเชิงเทคนิคด้วยหรือเปล่าอะไรยังไง
ใช่ครับใช่
โอเคครับถ้างั้นคิดว่าคำถามแรกก็ได้อะไรน่าสนใจกันไปเยอะเหมือนกันนะฮะซึ่งจริงๆแล้วทางคุณท็อปเมื่อกี้พูดค่อนข้างจะ transition ไปคำถามที่2ได้ค่อนข้างน่าสนใจทีเดียวคือเมื่อกี้พอพูดถึงเรื่องว่าในเชิงเทคนิคแล้วเนี่ยเป็นอะไรที่อาจจะดูง่ายขึ้นแต่ว่าแน่นอนว่าในการ develop เกมซึ่งมันมีทั้งเรื่องของฝ่ายเทคนิคและฝ่ายอาร์ตเนี่ยมันก็ต้องมีเรื่องของการ express มุมมองแล้วก็ความชอบหรือแม้กระทั่งวิชั่นต่างๆด้วยก็เลยอยากจะรู้ว่าจุดแข็งหรือจุดเด่นเนี่ยฮะหรือ uniqueness ของทางเกมสัญชาติไทยเนี่ยที่ประเทศอื่นอาจจะใช้คำว่าไม่มีหรือว่าแบบบ้านเราทำได้ค่อนข้างที่จะโดดเด่นกว่าอะไรเงี้ยมีอะไรที่พอจะแบบสะกิดใจขึ้นมาบ้างนะครับในเวลาพูดเรื่องนี้ขึ้นมา
จริงตอนนี้ถ้าในมุมผมว่าเรายังไม่มีอะไรขนาดนั้นอย่างในเรื่องของ innovative design ในเรื่องของอะไรแบบยังไม่ขนาดนั้นแต่ที่เด่นที่สุดในณตอนนี้ที่เห็นกันก็คือเรื่องของ innovative design ที่มี cultural อะไรใส่เข้ามาด้วยอะไรเงี้ยครับผมว่าอย่าง Home Sweet Home ที่แบบเกมผีไทยอะไรเงี้ยแบบมันก็มี innovative อาจจะไม่ได้ innovative design มากนะแต่มีความ cultural ที่ใส่เข้ามาผมว่าก็เป็นจุดแข็งของเราที่ยังขายได้อีกนะครับผมแต่ว่าที่เหลือก็คือด้านอื่นๆน่ะเนื่องจากเครื่องมือมันง่ายขึ้นผมก็คิดว่ามันไม่ใช่แค่เราที่เครื่องมือง่ายขึ้นก็คือทุกคนบนโลกนี้มันก็คือเครื่องมือมันง่ายขึ้นเขาก็สามารถใส่กันได้เต็มที่มากขึ้นเหมือนกันครับผม
เป็นสนามประลองวิชากันไป
ถ้าในมุมมองผมนะครับตอนนี้มันอาจจะยังไม่เห็นเป็นรูปเป็นร่างขนาดนั้นแต่ว่าสิ่งหนึ่งที่ผมว่าอาจจะเป็นจุดเด่นของบ้านเราในอนาคตได้คือว่าผมรู้สึกว่านักพัฒนาเกมไทยหรือว่าชาวไทยหลายๆคนเนี่ยเราโชคดีในด้านนึงคือเราเป็นมนุษย์เสพสื่อตั้งแต่เด็กเราเสพสื่อหลายสัญชาติตั้งแต่เด็กเราเสพทั้งเกมฝรั่งแล้วก็เกมญี่ปุ่นสื่อญี่ปุ่นการ์ตูนญี่ปุ่นและก็การ์ตูนฝรั่งหนังฝรั่งเราเสพสื่อมาเยอะผมเชื่อว่าตรงนี้เราอาจจะมีจุดแข็งในเรื่องของการนำเสนอวัฒนธรรมได้โดยที่มันไม่จำเป็นต้องเป็นในเชิงเดียวเราสามารถผสมผสานเกมต่างๆอย่างเกมไทม์ไลน์ของเราเองมันก็ไม่ได้ดูเป็นเกมญี่ปุ่นจ๋ามันก็มีความเป็นเกมฝรั่งอยู่อะไรอย่างนี้ครับผมเชื่อว่าอนาคตคิดว่าน้องๆที่กำลังจะจบหรือหลายๆคนเลยหรือว่านักพัฒนาเกมทีมอื่นก็จะเริ่มมีเกมที่ผมว่ามันอาจจะกลายเป็นเกมที่มีความเป็นสัญชาติไทยออกมาให้เห็นก็ได้ว่าเกมสัญชาติไทยจริงๆมันจะหน้าตาเป็นประมาณไหนมันอาจจะไม่ต้องไปฟิกว่ามันต้องเหมือนเกมญี่ปุ่นอาจจะไม่ฟิกว่าต้องเป็นเกมฝรั่งอะไรก็ได้คิดว่าน่าจะเป็นจุดเด่นในอนาคตได้ครับ
ทางคุณวินเซนต์
จริงๆแล้วเรื่องที่น้องเจมส์พูดค่อนข้างน่าสนใจกับทางที่พี่ท็อปพูดเองเหมือนกันคือตลาดไทยเนี่ยเป็นตลาดที่มี cultural mix สูงนะฮะไม่ว่าเป็นอย่างที่เจมส์บอกเลยคือเราเสพทั้งมังงะไทยทั้งมังงะญี่ปุ่นทั้งเราจะมีคนดูแบบพวกการ์ตูนมาร์เวลก็มีมันเป็น cultural mix ที่น่าสนใจก่อนหน้านี้ฮะคือต้องบอกว่าบ้านเราอ่ะเราสิ่งที่ทำให้เราตามต่างประเทศเนี่ยจริงๆผมคิดว่าเป็นการclose mindedness ของตลาดนะฮะคือต้องเรียนว่าอย่างพี่ท็อปจะรู้ดีเลยว่า10 ปีที่แล้วกับวันนี้สื่อในมุมมองของสื่อกับเกมเนี่ยกับด้าน culture กับเกมเนี่ยกับ mass กับเกมเนี่ยมันเป็นยังไงนะฮะว่าส่วนใหญ่คนในประเทศเราก็จะไม่ได้สนับสนุนด้านนี้มากเท่าไหร่แต่ในเมื่อประมาณ 5-6 ปีที่แล้วนะฮะเราก็จะได้มีโอกาสร่วมงานกับทางหลายๆมหาวิทยาลัยคราวนี้เราก็จะเริ่มเห็นแล้วว่ามีการที่หลายๆมหาวิทยาลัยเริ่มมีเมเจอร์มีโปรแกรมที่เป็นเกี่ยวกับเกมมาจริงๆอันนี้เป็นไซน์นะฮะเป็น
สัญญาณที่ดีเนาะ
สัญญาณที่บอกเลยครับว่าเฮ้ยประเทศเราเริ่ม open up to สิ่งเหล่านี้แล้วพอเราบวกกับประเทศเราที่เริ่มเหมือนกลุ่มคนที่อยู่ในประเทศเนี่ยเราเริ่มเล่นเกมเข้ามาเล่นเกมมือถือมากขึ้นตั้งแต่ตอนยุคแบบ Cookie Run หรือก่อนหน้านั้นเนี่ยเป็นตัวทำให้เปิด Open Mass up to เกมว่าเกมอาจจะไม่ใช่สิ่งที่ไม่ดี อย่างเช่นที่ทุกคนใส่มาตลอดเวลาแต่มันเป็นอะไรที่มันพูดถึงในแง่นั้นได้ง่ายหยิบมาพูดถึงแล้ว gather interest ได้ง่ายก็เลยถูกอาจจะตีกรอบว่าเกมเท่ากับไม่ดีนะฮะแต่จริงๆแล้วเนี่ยถ้าเราเทียบในเชิงของตลาดเองเนี่ยตลาดเกมไทยเนี่ยเรามีการบริโภคทั้งหมดอยู่ประมาณเกือบ 30,000 ล้านนะฮะต่อปีนะฮะ annual ซึ่งสูงกว่าตลาดภาพยนตร์ตลาดเพลงเยอะแล้วมันเป็นอะไรที่มันอยู่ใต้พรมอ่ะไม่มีคนพูดถึงไม่มีคนกล้าเอามา study ไม่มีคนกล้าเอาเข้ามาพัฒนาต่อเพราะว่าใครเข้าไปแตะอันนี้เนี่ยข้อมันง่ายที่จะมีผลเสียออกมามากกว่าผลดีนะฮะอันนี้ก็เลยเป็นจุดที่ผมคิดว่าเป็น limitation ของบ้านเราคราวนี้คำถามที่น่าสนใจกว่านั้นคือแล้วเราจะเอา strength ของเราเนี่ยหลายๆจุดเนี่ยมารวมกันยังไงนะฮะไม่ว่าจะเป็นฝั่งของ cultural mix กับการที่เกิดการ suppress ก่อนหน้านี้แล้วช่วงนี้มันเริ่มมา open up มันจะทำให้เกิดเราจะเห็นว่าประมาณ 4-5 ปีที่ผ่านมาเนี่ยไม่ว่าจะเป็นในการวงการของ e-sport การแข่งขันเองก็ตามเนี่ยมีการยอมรับมากขึ้นไม่ว่าเป็นในการของstreamer เองก็ตามเนี่ย caster เนี่ยเริ่มกลายเป็นอะไรที่เริ่มจะกลายเป็นสื่อที่มีจุดที่เข้ามา play กันในสื่อหลักมากขึ้นนะฮะแล้วก็ในวงการ marketing เองก็ตามเนี่ยเราเริ่มสามารถใช้เกมมา connect กับ mass ยังไงนะฮะสิ่งเหล่านี้เนี่ยพอมันมีอยู่รอบๆการสร้างเนี่ยมัน ecosystem มันเริ่มสมบูรณ์มันไม่เหมือนแต่ก่อนละเฮ้ยนายทำเกมเหรอโอ้ไม่ดีเลยอะไรอย่างงี้มันเริ่มเปลี่ยนพอมันเปลี่ยนอย่างเงี้ยมันเริ่ม accepted มีหลายๆปัจจัยเข้ามาที่มันมาเกื้อหนุนกันเนี่ยไม่ว่าจะเป็นทางของเกม engine หรือready to use asset เยอะขึ้นเนี่ยมันทำให้ผมคิดว่ามันทำพวกเราอยู่ใน position ที่ดีนะฮะโดยรวมแล้วเนี่ยจริงๆแล้วตลาดคนไทยเนี่ยเราเป็นคน creative อยู่แล้วถ้าดูจากสื่อที่ไม่ว่าเป็นการสื่อโฆษณาที่ทำออกมาหลายๆอย่างเนี่ยวางการวาง narrative วาง plot sound หรือมุมกล้องหรืออะไรจริงๆเราไม่แย่เลยนะฮะถ้าเราสามารถ apply ตรงนั้นบวกกับทั้งหมดนี้ได้เนี่ยผมว่าเราน่าจะอยู่ใน tipping point ที่น่าสนใจเลยฮะตอนนี้ฮะ
เรียกได้ว่าถ้าเกิดจากที่ได้ฟังมาจากทั้ง3ท่านเลย insight ตอนนี้รู้สึกว่ามันใกล้จุดที่รู้สึกว่ามันจะเป็น critical mass แล้วด้วยเนาะก็
จริงมันเป็น critical mass อยู่แล้วที่โดน suppress ไว้แต่ตอนนี้มันคือเหมือนมันเริ่มเปิดมามากขึ้นเริ่ม accept มากขึ้นเนี่ยผมว่าเราอยู่ในจุดที่ดีมากๆ
ครับผมก็ซึ่งมันจริงๆก็ลิงก์มาที่คำถามที่3ได้ดีเหมือนกันกลายเป็นว่าต่อกันมาแบบไม่ต้องลำบาก moderator กันเลยทีเดียว ก็สำหรับคำถามที่3เนี่ยที่เขาไกด์เอาไว้ก็คือในตอนนี้นักพัฒนาเกมไทยควรจะเพิ่มเติมประเด็นไหนให้อุตสาหกรรมเกมไทยก้าวไปอีกขั้นหนึ่งซึ่งถ้าเกิดเป็นที่คุณวินเซนต์พูดไว้เมื่อสักครู่นี้อาจจะเป็นเรื่องของการที่เราจะ apply strength ที่เรามีอยู่แล้วด้วยซ้ำเนี่ยฮะให้มันถูกยอมรับในสังคม mainstream ได้อย่างไรซึ่งอันนี้เป็นเนื่องจากเป็นทีมผมเองด้วยคือเรื่องของ e-sport เพราะผมก็ทำหน้าที่เป็นแบบ professional e-sport commentator เนาะซึ่งมัน mainstream มากขึ้นมากๆแล้วจริงๆด้วยเรื่องของแพลตฟอร์มด้วยอะไรด้วยทางฝั่งทาง speaker ทั้ง3ท่านมีความเห็นกับเรื่องนี้ว่าอย่างไรบ้าง
เดี๋ยวอันนี้เดี๋ยวผมเกริ่นเปิดประเด็นให้แล้วเดี๋ยวให้จริงๆแล้วทั้งเจมส์ทั้งพี่ท็อปน่าจะเป็น very good resource ในด้านนี้เลยนะฮะเพราะว่ามีการได้แตะกับในการสร้างตรงนี้มาโดยตรงนะฮะแต่ในเชิงของในตัวผมเองที่ผมเวิร์กกับในทั้งภาครัฐทั้งมหาลัยเองแล้วก็ดูในภาพตลาดรวมเองเนี่ยกับทั้งสมาคมเองเนี่ยผมมองว่าแบบอย่างหนึ่งที่จะเกริ่นไว้ตลอดเวลาเลยคือที่เราขาดอยู่เนี่ยคือด้านของเกมโปรดิวเซอร์หรือเกมไดเรคเตอร์ที่knowledge ที่เรายังตามเมืองนอกเขาอยู่เยอะอย่างเช่นถ้าที่อเมริกาหรือที่ญี่ปุ่นที่จีนที่เกาหลีอย่างเงี้ยฮะเขาจะมีการ embrace แล้วก็การสนับสนุนการ study เรื่องเกี่ยวกับเกม director เกม production เกม producer เนี่ยหรือด้านไม่ว่าเป็นทั้งเชิงของเกม project management หรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ยฮะคือจะมีการเรียนการสอนอย่างเงี้ยมาประมาณ 10-20 ปีแล้วในไทยเราเนี่ยยังค่อนข้างใหม่กับด้านนี้แต่ได้ในการทำไม่ว่าเป็นการสร้างasset ต่างๆไม่ว่าเป็น 3D animation ของตัว 3D โมเดลต่างๆ 2D art หรือในการสร้าง programming หรืออะไรอย่างนี้ก็ตามเนี่ยคือผมว่าบ้านเราเป็นชิ้นๆนะฮะเราค่อนข้างมีประสบการณ์อันนี้ พอสมควรนะฮะโดยเห็นได้จากหลายๆงานที่เรา provide manpower ให้กับตลาดต่างประเทศนะฮะแต่ว่าเราขาดคนที่รู้ว่าเฮ้ยเราจะ plan level ยังไงcorrect balance ยังไงดึงทั้งหมดเนี่ยผูกingredient ทั้งหมดเข้ามารวมกันตรงกลางเนี่ยยังไงให้กลายสารรวมกันให้กลายเป็นเกมที่ interesting ขึ้นมาจริงๆผมคิดว่าทั้งพี่ท็อปแล้วก็ทั้งน้องเจมจริงๆผมคิดว่าทำออกมาได้ค่อนข้างแบบสุดยอดเลยฮะเรื่องนี้
ขอบคุณครับ
ก็จากที่ได้ฟังมาก็คือทางคุณวินเซนต์มองว่าบ้านเราเนี่ยมีเรื่องของ expertise ในเรื่องของส่วนประกอบต่างๆไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของการโคดดิ้งโปรแกรมมิ่งอะไรพวกนี้หรือแม้กระทั่งการทำ art asset ต่างๆไม่ว่าจะเป็น 2D 3D ซึ่งแบบมัน 2D อาจจะ analog มาก่อนซึ่งตอนนี้มันก็ข้ามมาในลักษณะของเป็นดิจิทัลแพลตฟอร์มกันเยอะมากแล้วไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่อง mouse ปากกาอะไรก็ตามส่วน 3D นี่ผมรู้สึกว่ามันมีเรื่องของการเรียนการสอนในตรงนี้มาค่อนข้างจะเยอะอยู่แล้วแต่ที่พูดมาทั้งหมดเป็นลักษณะของเป็น ingredient แต่ตอนนี้เหมือนยังขาดเชฟที่แบบเรียกได้ว่าไม่ได้มีการผลิตเชฟ
ใช่
ที่แพร่หลายนักจากเรื่องของโปรแกรมการศึกษาด้วยหรืออะไรด้วยเพราะว่าเท่าที่ฟังดูเนี่ยอย่างที่ว่าเรื่อง art asset เรื่องดนตรีเรื่องภาพหรือแม้กระทั่งเรื่องโคดดิ้งคือทุกที่ในเรื่องของมหาวิทยาลัยมีการเรียนการสอนแต่ว่าถ้าพูดถึงในลักษณะของไม่ว่าจะเป็น creative design หรือว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของการวางแบบ project designer ด้วยซ้ำผมก็ไม่แน่ใจเหมือนกันว่าแบบเขาใช้ศัพท์นี้ในวงการหรือเปล่าก็รู้สึกว่าเป็นเรื่องที่น่าสนใจเพราะว่าทางคุณเจมส์เองก็หลังจากที่ผลิตตัวเกมเป็นชิ้นเป็นอันส่งออกไปที่ตลาดแล้วก็สักเซสแล้วเนี่ยน่าจะมีประสบการณ์ด้านนี้โดยตรงเลยพอที่จะให้เรื่องของอินไซต์อะไรบางอย่างได้ไหมครับว่าในวงการบ้านเราเนี่ยถ้าเกิดอยากจะได้มีแบบอย่างที่ว่าเนี่ยอินกรีเดียนต์ดีแล้วตัวเชฟเนี่ยฮะหรือว่าตัวที่เป็นสตูดิโอเลยเหรอหรือยังไงก็ไม่ทราบว่าทางคุณเจมมีความเห็นเรื่องตรงนี้ยังไงบ้าง
จริงๆคือฟังมานี่คือค่อนข้างเห็นด้วยแหละครับก็รู้สึกว่าบ้านเราจริงๆถ้าเอาเป็นคำถามแรกนะครับว่าบ้านเราต้องการสนับสนุนอะไรจริงๆมันชัดเจนอยู่แล้วส่วนหนึ่งคือต้องมีคำว่าเงินทุนหลายๆครั้งถ้าเราถามหลายๆครั้งจะบอกว่าเราขาดเงินทุนกันแต่มีคำตอบหนึ่งที่ไม่ค่อยตอบกันคือเรื่องของว่าเรียกว่า know how รู้สึกว่าผมว่าเป็นสิ่งสำคัญที่ไม่ค่อยมีใครพูดถึงกันเมื่อกี้พี่วินเซนต์ก็ได้พูดแล้วก็คือจริงๆผมรู้สึกว่าการทำเกมไทยเราขาดสิ่งหลักๆเลยนั่นคือ know how ซึ่งย้อนไปตรงคำถามเมื่อกี้ว่าผมคิดเห็นยังไงกับตรงนี้ในเรื่องของตรงนี้นั้นจริงๆแล้วมันยากมากเหมือนกันนะครับที่ว่าเราจะมีประสบการณ์ตรงนี้ได้เองอย่างทางทีมผมก็ต้องยอมรับว่าเป็นทีมงมโขกนะครับเราเรียนรู้ด้วยตัวเองเราใช้ว่าเฮ้ยอะไรที่น่าจะดีอะไรจะเวิร์กเราสังเกตจากเกมอื่นๆแล้วเราก็ด้วยเป็นความชอบส่วนตัวอย่างเวลาที่เราไปศึกษาหรือสนใจว่านักพัฒนาอินดี้ต่างชาติเขาทำอะไรมาบ้างเขาต้องเริ่มอะไรยังไงเราไปศึกษากระบวนการของเขามาตลอดทำให้เราพยายามเอามากับตัวเองได้บ้างแล้วก็เรียกว่าเป็นความโชคดีของทีมผมด้วยที่มีโอกาสได้ไปต่างประเทศถูกเชิญไปงาน accelerator ต่างๆที่จะมีเมนเทอร์จากต่างชาติมาให้คำแนะนำแต่หลายครั้งว่าทีมเราทำอย่างนี้ทีมเราทำอย่างนั้นคุณควรจะปรับอะไรยังไงเป็นเมนเทอร์เป็นว่าเป็น professional จากต่างชาติเอามาสอนแต่ว่านั่นก็เป็นความโชคดีของทีมผมแต่ว่าไอ้ส่วนเนี้ยมันยังไม่เป็นระดับแบบสากลระดับทั่วประเทศซึ่งถ้ามันมีโอกาสที่ให้ความรู้ตรงนี้ได้ผมว่ามันก็จะช่วยพัฒนาวงการเราได้ด้วยเหมือนกันถ้าจะให้พูดถึงว่าแล้วตอนที่ผมเริ่มใหม่ๆครั้งแรกอ่ะผมรู้สึกขาดอะไรบ้างขอเพิ่มเสริมแล้วกันนะครับเพราะว่าจริงๆคือส่วนแรกคือตอนผมเริ่มกันมากับทีมของผมเราจะแน่ๆคือเราขาดเงินเราจะไม่รู้ว่าเราจะต้องเอาเงินที่ไหนมาทำเพราะว่าการทำเกมมันคือการลงทุนใช่ไหมครับแล้วการลงทุนของเกมเนี่ยมันใช้ระยะเวลานานมากกว่าจะเสร็จ1เกมอ่ะเราต้องเสียเวลากับมันประมาณ1ปี2ปี3ปีแล้วแต่หรือ6เดือนถ้าคุณเจ๋งขนาดนั้นซึ่งแน่นอนครับคุณจะสร้างเกมเนี่ยคุณไม่ใช้คนแค่คนเดียวแล้วคุณต้องมีอาร์ตมีโปรแกรมเมอร์มีอะไรก็ตามซึ่งพวกนั้นเป็นค่าใช้จ่ายซึ่งมันยากมากนะครับที่อยู่ดีเราจะบอกเราจะหาบัดเจ็ตอะไรสักอย่างมา cover ทั้งทีมให้ทำบางสิ่ง1ปีโดยที่ไม่มีการันตีว่าทำแล้วมันจะรวยเละหรือกำไรแน่นอนมันยากมากที่จะหาในจุดนั้นซึ่งตรงจุดนี้ผมก็ยังรู้สึกว่าแม้มันจะมีการซัพพอร์ตจากนักลงทุนหรือว่าภาครัฐอะไรก็ตามมากขึ้นแต่ก็ยังรู้สึกว่ายังอยู่ในสเกลที่ค่อนข้างน้อยไป มันยังไม่เหมือนว่าถ้าให้ผมเทียบกับเพื่อนบ้านประเทศอื่นๆเขาจะมีทุนจากภาครัฐให้สามารถเอาไปลงทุนหรือไปสร้างเกมขึ้นมาได้โดยที่พวกเขาไม่ต้องกังวลว่าทำแล้วโอกาสเจ๊งมันที่จริงพูดตามตรงโอกาสเจ๊งมันเยอะกว่าโอกาสกำไรนะครับทำให้เขาได้ทำแล้วสิ่งนี้ที่ผมคิดว่ามันได้ต่อให้เกมนั้นอาจจะเจ๊งแต่สิ่งที่ได้คือเขาได้สร้างทีมได้สร้างโน้ตฮาวขึ้นมาแล้วมันได้มีทีมหลายทีมเกิดขึ้นในประเทศไทยแต่ว่าตรงนี้มันยังไม่เกิดขึ้นในไทยนะครับก็คิดว่าถ้ามันมีอะไรตรงนั้นได้มีทุนมีอะไรให้นักพัฒนาได้ต่อให้มันอาจจะไม่ได้มีสร้างโน้ตฮาวได้ทันทีแต่อย่างน้อยคือให้ทีมเอาเงินให้ทีมหนึ่งทำจนเกมเสร็จผมว่าเขาก็ได้โน้ตฮาวเป็นการลงทุนรูปแบบหนึ่งแล้วก็อนาคตมันก็จะต่อยอดได้อันนี้อาจจะเป็นมุมมองของลูกกี้แบบผมนะครับเป็นมือสมัครเล่นก็ไม่รู้ว่าทางพี่ๆคิดยังไงกันบ้างก็ขอส่งต่อให้คนอื่นแล้วกัน
ครับผมก็จากที่ฟังมาก็คือแน่นอนว่าโฟกัสที่เรื่องของโน้ตฮาวแต่ว่ามี2ด้านด้วยเนาะไม่ว่าจะเป็นด้านของในเชิงการศึกษาด้วยทางคุณเบนเซนก็พูดถึงแต่ว่าทางของคุณเจมเองก็ต้องพูดถึงเรื่องของโน้ตฮาวที่เกิดจากการทำเองจริงๆซึ่งแน่นอนว่าการทำเองจริงๆเนี่ยใช้เวลาเยอะใช้รีซอสเยอะใช้แมนพาวเวอร์เยอะแล้วมันก็ต้องตามมาด้วยค่าใช้จ่ายที่เยอะขึ้นซึ่งก็น่าจะเป็นเรื่องที่ถ้าเป็นไม่ได้ในเรื่องของการได้รับการสนับสนุนก็คงจะดีมากทางฝั่งของคุณท็อปคุณนพพลจากทางคอเซลมีอะไรจะเสริมจากตรงนี้ไหมฮะสำหรับหัวข้อนี้
คือทั้งสองเรื่องมันก็เป็นปัญหานะครับผมว่าในเรื่องว่าคนไม่เก่งคนยังไม่มีโน้ตฮาวมากยังหาดีเรคเตอร์ยากยังหาเกมมันเป็นศาสตร์ที่มันต้องเอาคนเก่งของทุกๆศาสตร์มารวมกันทำงานรวมกันไม่ว่าจะเขียนบทดนตรีหรือออกแบบอะไรอย่างเงี้ยซึ่งแบบในแต่ละศาสตร์มันก็มีความเก่งแตกต่างกันทีนี้คือการที่จะมีคนเก่งได้การที่จะมีโน้ตฮาวได้เนี่ยมันต้องเป็นการทำต่อเนื่องคือมันขาดที่เราขาดมาที่สุดก็คือการที่ทำต่อเนื่องทำพัฒนากันไปเรื่อยๆสังเกตบริษัทเกมที่เขา success ในระดับโลกเขาไม่ได้ success กันแค่เกมแรกนะบางทีเขาทำมาเป็น10 เกมแล้วเกมที่11เขาถึง success คือเขามีโน้ตฮาวที่เขาทำต่อเนื่องมาทีนี้คำถามคือสเกลการลงทุนในบ้านเราเนี่ยคืออย่างของคอเซลเราต้องไปทำรับจ้างผลิตเพื่อจะแบบเอากำไรมาทำโปรดักต์คือถ้ามันเป็นรูปแบบเนี่ยมันถึงวันนั้นไหมมันจะคงถึงนะแต่มันช้าแค่นั้นเองคือสเกลการลงทุนมันสำคัญที่จะแบบทำให้เราไปถึงจุดนั้นได้เร็วเพื่อที่จะทำให้เราได้ทำกันต่อเนื่องนะครับเพื่อจะให้เกิดโน้ตฮาวคือก็ตามที่คุณวินเซนต์แล้วก็น้องเจมบอกครับว่าแบบตรงเนี้ยทำยังไงเราถึงจะได้ทำกันต่อเนื่องทำยังไงเราถึงจะมีเงินทุนมาทำเกมต่อไปได้โดยที่แบบเราไม่ต้องไปสตรักเกิลไปทำอย่างอื่นอะไรเงี้ยคือคนที่จะลงทุนสเกลเกมนะครับผมบอกได้เลยว่านับจากวันเนี้ยพอมันมีเครื่องมือที่มันพร้อมอะสเกลเกมที่จะต้องลงทุนมันเยอะขึ้นมันสูงขึ้นเพราะแข่งกันที่คอนเทนต์ถ้าคอนเทนต์คุณไม่พร้อมพอเนี่ยมันไม่สามารถจะขายแข่งกับชาวบ้านเขาได้ละเพราะฉะนั้นแบบที่เราลงทุนกันอยู่สเกลที่เราลงทุนกันอยู่ค่อนข้างยากในการที่จะไปสู้กับต่างชาติผมถาม developer ไทยเนี่ยทำไมคนที่เดฟกันจริงๆจังๆส่วนใหญ่ 80-90% ไปขายต่างชาติกันเพราะว่าตลาดต่างชาติมันใหญ่มากถึงแบบเราจะได้มันไม่ได้เยอะมากแต่ว่ามันก็ยังพอใหญ่พอที่จะแบบเลี้ยงพวกเราได้คือแต่ว่าถ้าเราจะ success กันแบบเอาให้ success กันแบบเกมที่ success มันเกมหนึ่งเนี่ยมันควรจะขายได้ประมาณ100 ล้านบาทขึ้นไปเนี่ยคือเอาให้ success เนี่ยสเกลการลงทุนมันก็ควรจะต้องมีหลัก30 ล้านอ่ะมันถึงจะแบบเรียกว่า make sense กับที่จะแข่งกันในตลาดณตอนนี้นะครับผมครับผม
ก็จากที่ฟังมาแล้วก็มีข้อมูลจากที่ทางคุณเบนเซนพูดไปตั้งแต่ช่วงต้นๆด้วยก็คือเรื่องของสเกลการบริโภคตลาดเกมบ้านเราค่อนข้างที่จะใหญ่โตมากทีเดียวแต่ว่าอย่างที่ว่ากันคนอาจจะไม่ค่อยรู้เป็นเรื่องที่อยู่ใต้พรมแต่ว่าในทางกลับกันทางคุณนพพลเองก็พูดเหมือนกันว่าเรื่องของ investment บ้านเราอาจจะไม่เยอะซึ่งอาจจะมีผลจากเรื่องนั้นด้วยว่าแบบทาง investor ต่างๆอาจจะไม่ได้ทราบข้อมูลตรงนี้ 100% หรือว่าไม่ได้มองว่าตัวตลาดนี้มัน attractive ขนาดนั้นมันน่าดึงดูดขนาดนั้นไม่ว่าจะในเรื่องของตัวเม็ดเงินหรือว่าจะในเรื่องของทางสังคมก็ตามด้วยแต่เรื่องที่ผมฟังแล้วผมรู้สึกมีคำถามขึ้นมาซึ่งอันนี้ผมอาจจะออกจากไกด์ไลน์นิดนึงเพราะว่าคำถามที่ได้มาก็น่าจะหมดแล้วแต่ว่าไหนๆก็ไหนๆก็อยากจะสอบถามเพิ่มเติมนิดนึงด้วยแหละฮะเพราะว่าสเกลการลงทุนสเกลการบริโภค ถ้าที่ฟังมาตัวเลขมันอาจจะไม่สอดคล้องกันถ้าเกิดตัวผู้บริโภคเนี่ยเขาพูดถึงในการบริโภคตัวเกมไทยแต่เท่าที่ฟังมาเนี่ยผมเดาในลักษณะของการทำธุรกิจนะว่าตัวผู้บริโภคเนี่ยเหมือนจะเน้นในการเสพสื่อเกมที่มีซอสจากต่างประเทศมากกว่าบ้านตัวเองถูกหรือเปล่า
มันคือจะไปตีอย่างนั้นมันก็ไม่ได้สักทีเดียวหรอกครับผมว่าเกมไทยอ่ะคือคนไทยเขาก็อยากจะช่วยสนับสนุนนะครับผมแต่ว่ากระบอกเสียงพวกเรามันเล็กเสียเหลือเกินอ่ะมันแบบคือแม้ว่าเกมเราดังแค่ไหนเนี่ยมันก็ไม่แมสในเมืองไทยเพราะกระบอกเสียงพวกเรามันแบบยังไม่มีแบบชแนลที่ใหญ่พอคือแล้วการทำการตลาดเกมไทยในบ้านเราเนี่ยณตอนเนี้ยผมว่ามันก็ยากขึ้นมากขึ้นเรื่อยๆนะผมทำตั้งแต่สมัยแบบเมกาเกมแม็กอะลงเมกาเกมแม็กปุ๊บโอ้ทุกคนในเมืองไทยรู้จักหมดแล้วใครอ่านหนังสือเกมอะไรเงี้ยแต่ยุคนี้มันก็เปลี่ยนไปเยอะอะไรเงี้ยคือคราวนี้การจะทำตลาดในยุคนี้มันยากขึ้นด้วยครับผมในการที่จะเข้าถึงคนก็ต้องใช้เงินเยอะขึ้นครับผม
การแข่งขันมันสูงขึ้นจริงๆนั่นแหละจากที่เห็นได้ก็ทั้งสองท่านน่าจะมีประสบการณ์โดยตรงเรื่องนี้ด้วยเพราะว่าอยู่ในเขาเรียกอะไรในวงการ developer ไทยแต่ว่ากลับทำงานกับต่างชาติกันซะเยอะเลยอย่างที่ทางคุณนพพลว่าไปเมื่อกี้มีอินไซต์อะไรตรงนี้ไหมครับมีความคิดเห็นยังไงบ้าง
ถ้าผมก่อนก็ได้นะครับคือก็จริงๆผมว่ามันเรื่องปกติแล้วกันเพราะว่ายุคนี้มันยุคที่เป็นยุคดิจิตอลนะครับคนเดี๋ยวนี้ซื้อเกมดิจิตอลกันมากขึ้นเอาแบบเทียบกับ5 ปีที่แล้วเราก็ซื้อกันเยอะขึ้นเพราะฉะนั้นผมว่าผู้ซื้อเขาก็เหมือนเขาก็เป็นผู้บริโภคเขามีสิทธิ์ที่จะเลือกสินค้าอะไรก็ได้แล้วพอเราเอาเกมไทยไปแข่งกับเกมต่างชาติแน่นอนครับด้วยคุณภาพของเราด้วยคอนเทนต์ของเราอ่ะมันยากมากที่จะว่าเทียบเคียงกับต่างชาติได้ด้วยหลายๆปัจจัยที่เรากล่าวมาทั้งโน้ตฮาวทั้งต้นทุนต่างๆแล้วมันก็เลยเป็นประมาณนี้ครับทำไมแม้เม็ดเงินในวงการเกมไทยมันจะเยอะมากแต่ว่ามันไปตกอยู่ที่เงินต่างชาติเยอะผมว่าส่วนหนึ่งก็เพราะว่าคนไทยผู้บริโภคเราเลือกที่จะบริโภคเลือกที่จะเลือกคอนเทนต์ที่แบบว่าเหมาะกับเงินเขาที่สุดเหมาะกับเวลาเขาที่สุดอะไรประมาณนั้นด้วยคิดว่านั่นก็เป็นปัจจัยหลัก
อันนี้จากในมุมมองตัวผมเองนะก็คือเกี่ยวข้องกับเรื่องของ publisher อะไรพวกนี้ด้วยไหมฮะแล้วก็แน่นอนว่าเราพูดถึง publisher หรือว่าด้านภาคเอกชนแล้วก็จะมีเรื่องของภาครัฐด้วยในเรื่องของการสนับสนุนการแข่งขันของแบบ player ในประเทศเราอะไรเงี้ยแบบ developer ในประเทศเราถ้าเทียบกับต่างประเทศคิดว่ามีอะไรที่ถ้าเป็นไปได้อยากจะแบบให้มีเรื่องของการสนับสนุนจากภาคส่วนต่างอย่างที่ว่าฮะไม่ว่าจะเป็นทางภาคเอกชนหรือทางภาคนโยบายมีความเห็นยังไงกับตรงนี้บ้างฮะน่าจะเป็นคำถามสุดท้ายแล้วด้วย
จริงๆผม expand on คำถามเมื่อกี้นิดนึงแล้วนะครับมีนิยามง่ายๆนะฮะจริงๆแล้วเกมก่อนหน้านี้จริงๆผมเคย publish เกมตั้งแต่2013ถึง2016ด้วยเพราะฉะนั้นตรงนี้ผมก็จะมีความรู้นิดนึงนะฮะแต่ว่าจริงๆธุรกิจเกมเนี่ยสำหรับผมนะนิยามง่ายๆคือจริงๆมันคล้ายธุรกิจเพลงนะฮะเมื่อประมาณนานมาแล้วเมื่อ10-20 ปีที่แล้วนะฮะแต่ตอนนี้พอเราเริ่ม distribute เกมเนี่ยพอยิ่งเป็นมือถือหรือเดี๋ยวนี้เป็น DLC หมดแล้วใน PS4 PS5 หรือ Xbox หรือ PC ก็ตามเนี่ยเราเลิกซื้อ CD DVD กันแล้วฮะเราผ่านจุดนั้นมาแล้วพอไม่มีอย่างนั้นเนี่ยมันเป็นยังไงพอการเป็น business problem เนี่ยคือธุรกิจเนี่ยเราต้องมี distribution ใช่ไหมฮะเราสร้างของขึ้นมาเราต้องมี channel ที่เราวางขายก่อนหน้านี้ถ้าเป็น CD เป็น DVD เนี่ยเราต้องไปวางขายที่วางขายเพราะฉะนั้นมันจะเป็นคล้ายๆ retail model ปกติอย่างเช่นวางขายของขึ้นห้างหรือขึ้นอะไรอย่างนี้เดี๋ยวนี้ฮะมันกลายเป็นธุรกิจที่ one click เนี่ยขายได้หมดเลยสมมติวันนี้ผมสร้างเกมขึ้นมาผมอยากจะปล่อยในอเมริกาเนี่ยสมมติเป็นเกมมือถือเนี่ยผมก็ใน Apple แล้วก็เช็ค region ก็ปล่อยแล้วพอมันเป็นอย่างนี้เนี่ย barrier ในการ entry ของต่างชาติเนี่ยหรือว่าเราจะไปตลาดต่างชาติเองเนี่ยมันแทบไม่มีแล้วครับมันเป็น perfect competition มันแข่งขันกัน on the same ground กันหมดนะฮะในเชิงของตลาดแต่พอเรามาดูเทียบกับธุรกิจmusic เนี่ย music industry เพลงเนี่ยอย่างเพลงไทยกับเพลงต่างชาติเนี่ยมันแตกต่างอะไรที่มันเป็นตัว differentiate หนึ่งคือเนื้อร้อง ภาษาไทยกับภาษาอังกฤษหรือภาษาจีนภาษาอะไรก็ตามนิยามมันคล้ายๆกับเกมอินดัสทรีตอนนี้คล้ายๆมิวสิกอินดัสทรีแต่ว่าตอนนี้เนี่ยเหมือนbarrier เราไม่มีตรงที่ว่าเกมไม่ว่าจะออกมาจากที่ประเทศไหนหรือorigin ที่ใดเนี่ยคือผู้บริโภคทุกคนแค่มองว่าเป็นเกมที่สนุกหรือไม่สนุกเท่านั้นเองไม่ได้มองว่าเป็นเกมจีนเกมมองนิดนึงเพราะว่าเราจะมันจะมีสไตล์กลิ่นอายที่มันแตกต่างกันนิดนึงแต่เหมือนขายเพลงอะฮะขายเพลงที่เนื้อร้องมันเหมือนกันมันเป็นภาษาเดียวกันหมดอ่ะมันไม่ได้มีภาษาอังกฤษภาษาไทยภาษาจีนภาษาญี่ปุ่นภาษาเกาหลีอันนี้เกมเนี่ยมันเป็นเหมือนกันหมดเลยเพราะฉะนั้นการแข่งขันเนี่ยมันสูงขึ้นเยอะพอเราไม่มี barrier ตรงนี้เนี่ยเราไม่มีจุดกั้นว่าคนต่างชาติจะเข้ามาขายของในประเทศเราเนี่ยภาษีก็ tax rate ก็เท่ากันเหมือนกันไม่มีการกรองใครเอามาขายก็ได้versus ประเทศไทยก็สามารถไปขายข้างนอกก็ได้ไม่มี tax ก็เหมือนกันหมดนะฮะกลายเป็นการแข่งขันเนี่ยมัน perfect พอ perfect แต่ว่าประเทศเราเนี่ยหนึ่งคือเราตาม knowledge อยู่ด้านเกม production สมมุติว่าตามอยู่10ปี20ปีอันนี้เราเสียเปรียบข้อหนึ่งแล้วข้อ2คือทุนในการสร้างเนี่ยถ้าเราเทียบกับอย่างเกมจีนใหม่ๆที่กำลังดังอย่าง Genshin อย่าง Impact อย่างเงี้ยเขาลงเงินกันทีแบบรู้สึก100 กว่าล้านเหรียญอย่างเงี้ยฮะในการ production สร้างขึ้นมาแต่ของประเทศเรายังดูสเกลที่1 ล้านเหรียญเนี่ยยังเป็นอะไรที่เยอะแล้วหรือมัน level of playing field เนี่ยมันเลยต่างกันค่อนข้างเยอะนะฮะแต่จริงๆแล้วอย่างที่ของที่ท็อปหรือของน้องเจมส์ที่ทำเองก็คือเราก็เลยหั่นตลาดออกมาแล้วเรา tackle เฉพาะจุดที่เป็น niche หรือบางกลุ่มที่เรามองว่าเราขายได้สมมติว่าเราลงทุนแบบ15 ล้านเราแค่ตั้งให้ขายได้25 ล้านอย่างเงี้ยเราก็โอเคแล้วเราไม่จำเป็นเราไม่ได้ไปเล่นสเกลแบบเราลงทุน120 ล้านบาทกำไรกลับมาต้อง900 ล้าน 1,000 ล้านไม่ใช่อย่างนั้นก็มันก็จะเป็นอีกความแตกต่างนึงในตลาดเนี่ยฮะที่น่าสนใจ
ก็เป็นคนละอุตสาหกรรมแบบใช้คำว่าคนละจุดกันก็อาจจะต้องใช้สเกลที่เหมาะสมกันกว่าซึ่งตัวอย่างที่ผมได้ครับเวลาค่อนข้างที่จะเหลือน้อยแล้วก็เชิญคุณนพพลเลยครับ
ตอนนี้แต่ว่าเสริมอินเทอร์นิดนึงคือตอนนี้ที่ต่างประเทศเรื่อง tax เรื่องบาเรียอะไรตอนนี้ปีที่ผ่านมาคือกำลังเลสกันเต็มที่เลยคือเพื่อจะไม่ให้คอนเทนต์ต่างชาติเข้าไปลุยเข้าไปข้างในแต่ตอนนี้ของไทยเรายังไม่มีตรงนี้ซึ่งแบบในอนาคตก็คงจะต้องพยายามมีครับไม่งั้นแบบต่างชาติเขาบาเรียกันเต็มที่แล้วนะ
ซึ่งก็น่าจะเป็นอะไรนะเป็นสิ่งที่รู้สึกอยากให้เกิดขึ้นในเชิงนโยบายเนาะทางคุณนพพลแล้วก็ทางคุณวิเซนน่าจะพูดถึงเรื่องนี้กันค่อนข้างชัดเจนถ้าคุณเจมส์ซึ่งถ้าจำไม่ผิดจะลงไปในpublisher เป็นแพลตฟอร์มของ Steam ถูกไหมฮะ
ครับผม
ซึ่งก็เหมือนกับทางที่คุณวิเซนพูดไว้คือไม่มี barrier อะไรตรงนี้มีความเห็นยังไงกับเรื่องนี้บ้างครับถ้าเกิดพูดถึงในลักษณะที่ทั้ง developer เกมไทยส่งไปที่ต่างประเทศหรือแม้ทั้งคนต่างประเทศที่เขาจะเข้ามาลุกตลาดไทยอะไรพวกนี้น่าจะคำถามสุดท้ายแล้ว
จริงๆก็เห็นด้วยที่ว่ามาหมดเลยครับไม่ได้มีเสริมแต่งอะไรเท่าไหร่นะครับแต่ว่าในตัวมุมมองของทีมผมเองก็จริงๆก็เหมือนเป็นมันก็คือเป้าหมายหลักแล้วอยู่แล้วตอนนี้ถ้าเราพัฒนาเกมเราต้องคิดอยู่แล้วเราต้องขายตลาดโลกเพราะฉะนั้นการตลาดทุกอย่างเราต้องคิดเพื่อตลาดโลกก็เป็นอะไรที่ท้าทายแล้วก็ยากครับแต่ว่าก็ต้องพยายามทำให้ได้มากกว่า
ก็น่าจะต้องอย่างนั้นแหละครับผมเพราะว่าทาง developer บ้านเรานี่ก็อย่างที่ว่าทั้ง3คนค่อนข้างจะมองตรงกันว่ามีเรื่องของสกิลมีเรื่องของอะไรพวกนี้แต่ว่ายังไงก็ต้องสู้กับทางสถานการณ์ตอนนี้ด้วยแล้วก็หวังว่าจะมีความเปลี่ยนแปลงในทางที่ดีขึ้นกับทางบ้านเราเนาะขอบคุณสปีกเกอร์ทั้ง3ท่านมากนะครับตรงนี้ทางคุณพลเทพเศรษฐิวรรณนายกสมาคมอุตสาหกรรมซอฟต์แวร์เกมไทยเมจิโอเอเชียนะครับคุณวินเซนต์เองคุณนพพลนะครับคุณท็อปวรรณเพ็ญสกุล Managing Director ของทาง Carroll Technology ฮะขอบคุณครับแล้วก็คุณปริเมศฮะวงศ์สัตยานนท์ทาง CEO ของ Uniqueness Studio ขอบคุณนะฮะคุณเจมส์
ขอบคุณครับผม
ก็น่าจะได้อะไรกันไปเยอะเลยนะครับวันนี้สำหรับอินไซต์ต่างๆจากผู้ที่มีประสบการณ์จริงเข้าบอร์ดในวงการกันมาจะเป็นเวลาสั้นหรือเวลายาวๆก็ตามแต่ว่าผมคิดว่าทุกความเห็นนี้น่าสนใจมากจริงๆก็สำหรับวันนี้น่าจะจบเซสชั่นตรงนี้เพียงเท่านี้ขอบคุณสปีกเกอร์ทั้ง3คนอีกครั้งหนึ่งนะครับ
ขอบคุณมากครับสวัสดีครับ
ครับขอบคุณครับAnd we are going to resume the conference shortly after this, and the rest of the sessions are going to be conducted in English. So thank you, and we'll see you again shortly.
morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and thank you for having me as part of this conference. Today, I'll be talking to you about how we at Formula One are using digital innovation and esports in particular to break the mold at our 70-year-old sport. So a question for you to start. What happens when a global pandemic halts all sports? What happens when your core product, and for us, that is the racing that we put on the track, gets postponed or canceled because in-person events are no longer possible? How did we respond at Formula One? Well, we raced on. We've got a terrific product in our esports innovations that we employed almost instantaneously in order to replace our postponed and canceled Grand Prix at the height of lockdown when the global pandemic, COVID-19, hit the entire globe. I've got a short video here to give you a flavor for the virtual Grand Prix activities that we held during lockdown to show you how we were able to continue racing even if our cars and their tires could not hit the tarmac.
They're side by side. Oh, he's lost it! He's dummied him. What a great move! I'm starting last on the grid, so I need some tips.
That's a mistake from Leclerc.
Down goes Ben Stokes.
Oh, sorry, Arthur.
Contact between teammates. Oh no!
You all over me.
So why esports? Why did we decide as a company and as a sport that it was important to explore what is a burgeoning industry, but a completely new one for our historic sport? Well, at the core of it, it was about reaching out to a younger demographic. This is a demographic that is digitally savvy, digitally enabled. They're a global audience and a growing audience. And there was a wider appreciation and recognition that as a sport of Formula One, our fan base was aging. So it was really important that we looked at ways in which we could help to stem this issue. Well, 80% of our esports participants and viewers are below the age of 34, and half of our participants and viewers are below the age of 24. And when you contrast this to real-life Formula One, it is a much higher statistic, showing that we're able to reach a younger audience in a more effective way, and more importantly, enable us to speak in a language that they understand. This helps us to build our pipeline of Formula One fans in the future. So how exactly is Formula One harnessing the power of esports? Well, we entered the world of esports back in 2017. And as I said, the impetus and the objectives of that was really centered around how we could create products to engage our younger audience. But as we have navigated this space, we have seen a lot of really cool things that we can do within competitive video gaming and wider digital innovation to help us build our sport, reduce the barriers to entry into our sport, and help to grow the fan base of Formula One. Well, first and foremost, esports allows us to create a new form of racing content that's exhilarating and always on, including during a global pandemic. We have a terrific video game developed by our licensee and partners at Codemasters, who developed our official Formula One game. And the graphics on the game is absolutely spectacular, very, very realistic. And we're able to create racing virtually that we're not able to create at a level that we're not able to create in real life. Now, there are a couple of reasons for this. First, our racing involves cars that, all of the cars that are participating are of equal performance, which means a Ferrari, a Mercedes, a Red Bull, a Williams, an Alfa Romeo, all of our cars participating are equal. Combined with the fact that our esports competitors are very, very competitive. They're the best gamers in the entire world, but also because it is a video game, they're able to take more risks when they're racing, because if they were to crash, they wouldn't be injuring themselves or incurring hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. And what this allows us to do is it allows them to be more risk-taking when they race, and it creates a level of racing entertainment that you just cannot recreate in real life. And we were able to use this to our advantage during the height of lockdown by having all of our competitors compete and race against each other, but do that remotely and safely from the safety of their own homes. Esports also allows us to create a new and innovative way to engage with the sport that our fans love. One of the challenges as a sport that we have, which is very unique to motorsports and Formula One, is that unlike, say, a sport like tennis or football or basketball, where you're able to pick up a tennis racket or pick up a basketball or a football and say, play with your friends in your local park or local court, you can't just jump into an F1 car. You can't just jump into a racing car. So that is a very fundamental challenge as a sport, as we try and get fans to have a deeper appreciation and experience of the sport. We are able to use esports to help bridge that gap. Because when you're competing on our esports platforms, you are doing so with a wheel, a pedal, and a simulator. It's a very immersive way of experiencing gaming and to that, experiencing the sport of Formula One. And this is really important for us because we're able to, for the first time, allow our fans to experience maybe even 5 to 10% of what it feels like to be an F1 driver. And that in itself can help give a greater and wider appreciation for the sport and deeper engagement as well. Esports also allows us to create new stars for Formula One and helps us transform lives. This picture that you see over here on the slide, this is Brendan Lee. He won our championship back in 2017 and 2018. And we were able to kind of create new faces into F1, you know, people to engage with. And also for him personally, transform his life is symbolic of a lot of other lives within our esports series that we've been able to transform. Last year, Brendan took part in his first ever single-seater race, meaning that he competed in a real-life race car because of the opportunities that Formula One esports had afforded him. His is a story of many other stories within our grid where we have seen this blurring of lines between real world and the virtual world. And it helps us create new personalities into our sport, which is important as we look towards diversifying the touch points into Formula One. Esports also allows us to reignite Formula One ambitions and also opens up, again, what it means to be a driver in Formula One. Again, you can see a picture here. This is a picture of Graham Carroll. He was one of our esports competitors in our esports series, and he was actually previously a real-life professional race car driver. But because of the commitments of costs that are required in a career of motorsports, it is a very expensive sport. He wasn't able to support himself to continue a career in motorsports. So he took up esports to reignite his passion for motorsports and relive his passion for racing in a different kind of way virtually. And again, it helps us redefine what it means to participate in the world of Formula One as a sport. Esports as the new grassroots to motorsport. This is a really important one and very unique for Formula One and motorsports in general, whereby the blurring of lines between the real world sport and our virtual esports is very significant. There is a very large overlap. As I said, our competitors compete on a wheel, pedal, and a simulator. So they're racing, the racing that they put on, whilst they don't experience necessarily the G-forces or the physicality, the racing is still very real and the race skills are still really relevant. And what we're seeing is a continuing opening up of our sport because esports now allows people to enter the sport at a much lower threshold or much lower barriers to entry. Because previously, that first step into motorsport was karting, whereas now the first step into motorsports is esports. it opens up the possibilities of esports more generally in terms of allowing people to enter the sport. So we're starting to see more and more stars, more and more real life racing stars experience motorsports for the first time through sim racing and through esports, which then in itself opens up our fandom, but also allows us to find new stars, to find future stars in motorsports. We're also seeing more and more professional F1 drivers. They are avid sim racers. You've got a couple of pictures here of Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. They're very involved in the world of esports and sim racing. And you'll see this continuing to become a trend because as more of the younger generation of drivers start to come up, more of them are exposed to sim racing, more of them are exposed to gaming. So there is definitely a wider trend of more and more professional race car drivers or racing drivers who have had sim racing or esports experience as they learned to perfect their professional racing craft. Also, esports allows us to bring Formula One to growth regions like China to cultivate the passion for racing and for Formula One. As a sport, we are a global sport. Formula One is a global sport. But we tend to visit different regions on, for the Grand Prix weekend itself, and we're there for the Grand Prix weekend, and then we leave. So esports allows us to extend our presence in a particular country or in a particular region beyond the Grand Prix weekend, and helps to bring the thrill of Formula One through our gaming portfolio and through esports to help cultivate the passion and the wider fandom for F1. And I call out specifically our growth regions because these are regions where maybe we've identified as a company that we have a lot of room and a lot of opportunity and potential for growth, but maybe putting on a real life Grand Prix is too expensive, or maybe the development of new drivers that obviously takes time. So esports allows us to enter those markets much more quickly and much more efficiently and help us to cultivate that love for racing through esports. And finally, esports as a tool to enhance and improve the real life sport. Our motorsport team leans on a lot of different resources to help inform the future direction of the sport. And one of them is in our virtual racing capabilities and in our esports drivers to simulate different scenarios and different settings in order to inform the future direction of the sport. So esports is actually really, really beneficial for us. It serves a wider purpose beyond just the core competition, which of course is highly entertaining, but it helps us reach a lot of different objectives as a company. And in particular, as we look to secure the longevity of Formula One as a sport. So that's a quick overview. That's Formula One esports. Really, the journey has just begun. We started in 2017. We're now in 2020. We've seen tremendous growth over a short amount of time, in particular during this year, when we're talking about the height of lockdown, where our real world Grand Prix could not be held. It really did accelerate our trajectory in esports, and we are very bullish, and we hold a lot of expectations on how we can continue to exploit digital innovation and esports to help further grow our sport. Thank you very much.
Undeniably, the role of technology is very important when it comes to esports. Esports has gotten a lot of innovation in terms of technology, whether it is 5G, iOS, or IoTs, or cloud gaming. It keeps transforming the gaming experience. And one of the main players that has been in the forefront of bringing on that technology is the company Razer. Today, we're going to take a look at the latest development in technology in our subject of innovation, transforming the future of esports and technology with Zubair Mohammed, the Chief Marketing Officer of Razer. Sawadee.
Hello, hi, thank you for inviting me.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to see you. I think maybe we'll start off with the impact of COVID-19. Why not? Because obviously it has boosted various sectors. E-gaming, or rather esports, is one of them. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact of the pandemic onto your business and the industry?
Sure. Yeah. No, that is a very topical one to start with. I think. Look, I would say, overall, it's been an interesting mix, right? Obviously, it's some positives and some negatives, as with anybody in any industry. But for us in gaming, and for us at Razer, we've been lucky that we have one of the world's largest ecosystem, right, for gamers across hardware, software, and services. And so we've actually seen an impact in different ways. The first one is as people have stayed home more, gaming has become an avenue for them to, for entertainment or engagement. And so we've seen generally gameplay and volume of gamers go up during COVID. And as a result, for our hardware business, our software business, we've seen more engagement, more interaction, more sales of our products. So that's kind of been on that side of things. We also have a pretty strong presence in esports. And as esports, the way I talk about esports is like any other sport, but digital. And so if you think of it that way, it's actually been meaningfully and significantly enhanced during these COVID times when offline events, offline sports have not been able to happen, as they usually do. We've seen a significant rise in esports viewership, esports tournaments, esports participation. So that's something we are keeping a close eye on and actually even fueling that growth. So we ourselves have, we do events as well ourselves, esports tournaments. And so during this time, we pivoted from offline to an online model. And we ran one event recently as well called Razer Invitational Southeast Asia, which was fully online, massive event, 10 nations across Southeast Asia participating. We had 500 teams, 3,500 athletes. And it went really well. We actually crossed 10 million in viewership, and got like 80 million reach on social and more than 200 million reached on PR and so on. And it, to be honest, it actually surprised us at how much engagement and reach we saw. We did not expect the pickup to be that much. So I think, in this space of people
I think the industry
more,
has been really surprising for a lot of people, whether you're a part of it or you're not. I mean, over the past few years, progress and development in esports has shot up. Definitely with the pandemic at hand, COVID-19 has seen the acceleration of the digitization of various companies, which was that direction that, that we were heading towards in 2020, but the speed of it was definitely very fast.
Absolutely.
So I think the ultimate question later on is then, what is the impact of technology for the gaming industry then in the next 3 years? Has the situation fast forward the innovation and change your perspective of where we're going to be in the next 3 years?
For sure. I think actually you put it really well, right? Like COVID has accelerated that change, but the changes in technology have been happening, right? It's been happening even pre-COVID. And so I think for the next few years, there are about like 2 or 3 areas that I see will kind of really impact the gaming industry and technology. At a high level, it's mobile, the whole mobile space and mobile gaming. Related to that, cloud services and 5G. These would be kind of some of like 2 or 3 of the ones that come top of my mind. Let me kind of elaborate on each of them. For mobile gaming, it's really this massive kind of growth as your device specifications, increase, the ability for devices to play high-end games increases across the world. We are seeing a lot of growth in gameplay on mobile. Not just that, but we're also starting to see several world-class tournaments happening with mobile titles, right? Like PUBG Mobile, Clash of Clans, Arena of Valor. All these are mobile-first games, and we're starting to see some really big in terms of athletes that participate, prize money, investments, partners that want to be a part of it. So we're seeing that not just in mainstream gameplay that mobile is growing, but also in competitive gameplay. And
Wow.
we are investing into that as well. We recently launched and actually had announced at CES earlier this year, and it was an award-winning CES product called Razer Kishi, which is our mobile controller, and we've built it for Android, iOS,
Be just at a desktop, but anywhere.
It's happening. Yeah, exactly. It's happening, and that's a great point, right? Anywhere, which is the other technology I was saying, which is cloud gaming.
Yeah.
So that's starting to break down these barriers between platform. So you call it cross-play, cross-platform, anytime, anywhere gaming, seamless gaming, the different terms in the industry. But the idea here is that, you move from video games on console to mobile to PC, laptop, desktop seamlessly. And there's a lot of investment happening in cloud gaming, right? I mean, Stadia has been around, of course, for a while, xCloud, and now Amazon launched Luna as well. So a lot of big players kind of pushing hard in this space around the world.
But when you talk about the developments of these technologies, it's at a different rate at different countries, and different regions. And of course, the development of esports itself is different from, the latest competitions in South Korea to maybe the less developed competitions we see here in Southeast Asia. How do you think it's going to be in terms of the future? I mean, what regions do you think will be in the forefront of this development?
For me, what I'm seeing, especially this year, right? It's becoming, I want to say it's almost becoming a level playing field. Like kind of the example I gave you of our own event, the Razer Invitational in Southeast Asia. We did not think Southeast Asia as a region would be that engaged or be that active. And I think that's why, if from intuitively one thinks, or like the growth that's been happening in the last few years, it's like you mentioned, right? It's the Northeast Asia, maybe China, maybe the US, which are the hotspots for esports picking up. That's not the case anymore. We are seeing big growth in the Middle East. Southeast Asia is the example I gave. We see Latin America also growing. Of course, Europe has always been a big one. So it is genuinely becoming a level playing field all around the world. And to many extents, I would add to that actually that developing emerging regions like Southeast Asia, Latin America probably will be seeing faster growth, because as the playing field becomes level, there's so much kind of latent or pent up demand, pent up talent that will now start kind of seeing mainstream tournaments, mainstream exposure.
Yeah, and I think that leads to my next question in terms of, perhaps when a lot of people think of esports, it might be like a niche market where a specific characteristic of a person is playing or, consuming that media. But with new technology, you're seeing possibly the mass market coming in. As we said, it could be played anywhere and by anyone, perhaps maybe, in terms of, there wouldn't be any differences in terms of who can afford this specific equipment or this specific, playing gear versus those who, might not be able to afford it, but then now you have a leveling of the fields. Do you think that this will be a way to make esports more of a mass market thing?
It's already happening. It's not going to, it's happened, and it's happening, right? So in fact, anytime somebody uses the word niche and gaming in the same sentence, it makes me pause. Because
sorry.
I half joke, but seriously, it's like, it's not niche anymore. 70 to 80% of youth and millennials, whatever you define them as, right? These days definitions change a little bit, but broadly youth and millennials, 70 to 80% of them are gamers at some level. Close to 50% of gamers are women. So you'll see basically gaming demographics are starting to reflect general demographics, right? So it's not niche anymore. So it's not your teen male gaming in a basement somewhere, which is the image sometimes we tend to have. And that's fueled by many things. One is absolutely like the level playing field that we mentioned, improvements in technology, device capabilities, 5G, cloud gaming, and all of that is growing globally, right? It's not only restricted to the US's and Europes of the world. And second is, I think, is the variety of games as well. And I think, and this is not a recent phenomenon, but it's today the types of games, good quality, high quality games of every genre and type is there to cater to anyone's needs and interests. And we try to do the same at Razer with our products, right? We make sure that no matter what product, whether it's hardware, software, or services, our goal is also leveling the playing field, and kind of complete inclusiveness. So no matter what type of game player you are, casual, medium, or a pro athlete, no matter what type of game you play, no matter what device you play on, and no matter where in the world you're playing, we have something that will elevate your gameplay experience.
How unique is innovation in the gaming industry compared to others?
I'll try to give an unbiased answer, but what I want
we all know. You don't worry. You don't have to worry about being biased.
No, but kidding aside, and when I look back at as I entered the gaming industry like close to a decade ago, one thing that attracted me to this space is gaming has always been and continues to be at the forefront of innovation at quite a few different levels, right? Some of the things we talked about, right? 5G, cloud. If you think about it, I mean, enterprise usage of cloud aside, the real kind of exciting and relevant use case of 5G is gaming, right? Latency, like zero latency, multiplayer, kind of seamless interaction and gameplay, all of that gaming first. If you think of gaming as setting, it has also always set the standard in innovation when it comes to tech, right? When it comes to entertainment, when it comes to 300 hertz and 60, 120 FPS, animation technology, all of that stuff like hits gaming first. I'll give you an example again. One of our own products are our Razer Blade laptops. They are made with the gamer in mind, and so the specifications, everything that we do in our Blade laptops are made with gamers in mind. So they need to be like the top notch. And what we realized as we started growing in the gaming sector is almost organically, we saw that people in other industries in the creative space, right? People who do music production, people who do visual graphics and effects, people who do movie making and high-end productivity as well. We're all kind of interested in our Blade laptops because we've set the standard for gaming, and because that standard is so high, it applies to other kind of spaces, industry sectors that need that type of performance. VR, AR, you think about all of new technology, it's all gaming first.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in a way, and I'm not being biased as well. I mean, if you think about logically, even for example, the traditional chair, the computer chair, it's been so advanced with gaming, and
Yes.
It is logical for those who are now working at home or sitting at the office, and it is applicable there. Versus another development that we're seeing as well, and that is virtual credit services. You have Razer Gold, one of the world's largest virtual credit services for gamers. Let's not, deny the fact that, in other sectors, we've also seen the latest movements towards trying to get some sort of currency or some sort of trading online, especially with COVID-19. How do you think perhaps these types of technologies will be adopted in the future by other sectors? Or how can other sectors learn from, the gaming sector?
So it's again, I would say that's also already happening. We are seeing, since you brought up Razer Gold, right, which is actually very interesting for us, because yes, it's again, as most things for us, it started within the gaming space, right, to become that we are now one of the world's largest virtual currencies. But what we realized as we're starting to do that the need that we were solving with Razer Gold and the use cases that we were creating applies beyond gaming as well. And so now Razer Gold can be used on other forms of digital and online entertainment, live stream monetization, also for creator, like streamer monetization and so on. So it's already starting to bleed into other forms of usage and entertainment. Like Razer Gold is integrated with Tinder, for example, right? Like, so the need, again, gaming first, yes, but the fundamental need is so core to certain lifestyles and use cases that absolutely things like these are already starting to spread beyond the gaming industry really fast.
Perhaps commerce as well.
Yeah. E-commerce as well, absolutely.
Okay, now how about the lessons that you've learned? You said that you've joined this industry about 10 years ago. What have you learned so far that you can share with us, about the case studies or situations that you've seen in the past?
I think a couple that would come to my mind. Number one is it's a very engaged community. Gamers are a very, very engaged community, a very vocal community.
Yeah.
And so this is one thing that is at the core of us for us at Razer as well, right? Which is always stay close to your target audience, always stay connected with the community. And that's what we do here as well. We set the highest bar for our product development. The bar we set is for for professional usage, and then so if it works there, of course it'll elevate everybody's gameplay. But the way we develop our products and our services is always being close to our community and our target users. So we understand what they want, we understand what they need, and then we try to kind of exceed those expectations. I'll give you a quick example on that one. Razer Viper, which is one of the world's best mice today. We developed it working very closely with top esports athletes. They almost used prototypes for a year in competitive gameplay, everyday play, gave us feedback, and then that's how we kind of developed the product before launch. Mm-hmm. So that'll be one of my learnings, right? Really kind of this is unlike, and I've worked on in other tech areas, right? Online video, I've worked in consumer goods as well. So I've always been a marketer that thinks user first, but gaming communities and fans are a different level. So that's been a huge learning for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you were like a brand, I was talking about this with other brands like Mercedes-Benz and Mastercard. You can't really think, you can't just like say that esports is like a sport per se, like a traditional sport or a category of a market that we've seen before. You just mentioned it's very integrative. It's very in depth. Can you give some advice for those brands? And that was one of the questions that we're talking about. The brands out there who might not be in the game yet, are looking to get into the game. What insight can you share with them into how to navigate this market?
Yeah, got it. Look, I think the first thing I would say is actually something you started your question with, which is the mindset that needs to change among everyone out there, right? Which is esports is traditional now. It is not a niche. I mean, you didn't use the word niche, but yeah. It's basically, like I mentioned earlier, it is a regular sport or a quote unquote traditional sport, but online. And I think that's the mindset that brands and other partners who want to venture into this space or start partnering with the likes of us and other players in the ecosystem. That's the mindset they need to take. It is a way to reach a specific and super engaged target audience with a relevant message. That's critical here, right? The message has to be relevant. And so whether you're an apparel brand, you're an F&B brand, you're a consumer goods brand, you're a lifestyle brand, finance, fintech, whatever, if you have an offering or a story that is relevant to the youth and millennial today, they are engaged in the gaming space, and you want to find those avenues through esports tournaments, through whatever other partnerships you can, to really talk to that user base. That's most contextual.
Okay, I can't believe it, but we're running out of time. I was like thinking, we're going to talk a lot about things, and I thought, we have plenty of time. We don't, but I think we kind of
time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
Yeah. I think we did touch on key topics just some few minutes ago. Whether it was talking about the future of technology in 5G, you mentioned that how digital infrastructure is definitely going to impact it. It really does depend, I believe, on the developments of individual countries, but it is coming, as you said. And also fintech, and we were talking about that, how currency, how trade is being developed to the masses. I think the last thing I want to ask is, what is your viewpoint for the future, since we are meeting here in Southeast Asia for the esports industry here in this region? I know that you've been trying to push for it to become acceptable in the 2021 Southeast Asian SEA Games in Vietnam. But overall, though, as the industry itself and its legitimacy, where do you see it going towards the end of this year and of course next year?
Sure. Kind of what you mentioned right now is really kind of our vision, right? So we know esports is becoming mainstream. We want it to be officially recognized as well across the world's major competitive events, with the epitome being the Olympics. So our path here is to get esports recognized as an official medal sports at the Olympics, on a regular basis. And we're pushing really hard, to take steps along that direction. I would say the first major win that we've had there was last year, when esports was recognized as an official sport at the SEA Games in the Philippines last year. We had to do a lot of push, a lot of networking and lobbying, but super excited that we could make that happen. And then we were doing the same for next year. And actually, as you mentioned, we tried hard, and just about 10 days ago, it was announced that esports is indeed going to be an official sport next year in Vietnam as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's something we want to keep doing, right? So that's the second win. So I think that's one future. Like it's not niche, it's mainstream for the audience. Let's do so with the right authorities, the right federations, and the right committees to make it officially recognized as well. So that would be one. The second thing that we're doing for the future of esports and Razer Invitational Southeast Asia is exactly along that path. And we are, I can't reveal much right now, but literally this week or in the next few days, we'll be making some more announcements as we're trying to do more of these. What our goal with Razer Invitational is to bridge that gap or create that path to professional gaming and professional esports. Today, there's a lot of high visibility pro gaming and pro esports going on, and a lot of stuff at the grassroots level, but there's nothing really in a kind of structured way that provides that path for people who are good but don't know how to get there to become a pro. And that's where invitationals come in, where we work with esports federations. So the example I gave you across, including Thailand and all other countries in Southeast Asia, we worked with the esports federations of the countries, worked with them to create teams, and then the teams actually represented their countries in the finals and so on across a bunch of games. So that's another vision we have for the region, is how do we elevate the entire esports ecosystem in our countries around the world, not just Southeast Asia, to give more global mainstream exposure to budding athletes and give them a path to become pro, make a career out of it, and succeed in their passion.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Zubair, for being with us here. I know it's a short period of time, but we look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you so much, Kapun Ka.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And there you have it. A big thank you to everyone who stick with us throughout the whole conference today. I hope you guys have a good time. And if you guys missed anything, don't worry. You are very welcome to watch the replay at AIS Play application, Facebook page AIS Esports, Facebook page Techsauce Thailand, and YouTube channel Techsauce Thailand. และนี่คือทั้งหมดครับผมสำหรับงาน AIS Techsauce Esports Summit 2020 นะฮะและไม่ว่าใครที่หลังจากที่ได้ดูกันไปอยากจะดูย้อนอีกรอบเพื่อจดโน้ตหรือแม้กระทั่งอาจจะดูไม่ครบทุกเซสชันอยากจะกลับไปดูใหม่ก็สามารถเปิดดูได้ในแอปพลิเคชัน AIS Play Facebook Page AIS Esports Facebook Page Techsauce Thailand และแน่นอนฮะ YouTube Channel Techsauce Thailand เช่นเดียวกันครับขอบคุณทุกท่านจริงๆนะฮะที่มามีส่วนร่วมกับงานของพวกเราในวันนี้ฮะและสำหรับวันนี้น่าจะหมดหน้าที่ของพวกเราแล้วฮะกับงาน AIS Techsauce Esports Summit งานเสวนาด้านอุตสาหกรรมธุรกิจเกมและ e-sport แบบครบวงจรครั้งแรกของประเทศไทยก็หมดลงแต่เพียงเท่านี้สำหรับวันนี้ขอตัวลาไปก่อนสวัสดีครับ